Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, Ray Bourque is back as the Bruins start the second season against the Canadiens. It's a clean sweep for Canada as Rick Folk and Sandra Peterson move to the finals of the World Curling Championships. It's a low feeling for the Expos at Mile High. And the Blue Jays cannot live on power alone as they look for a good pitching performance at Anaheim.
The NHL playoffs are now underway, and after all the talk about the new conference format potentially disrupting the long-standing rivalries, it seems the more things change, the more they say the same. First-round matchups including the Canucks Flames, the Leafs Hawks, the Caps Penguins, and the Rangers Islanders. And on Saturday, kicking off the 1993-94 Stanley Cup Playoffs, one of the richest rivalries in the history of the league, the Habs and Bruins. The 28th time the two have met in a postseason series. Montreal with a decided edge, leading the all-time series 21-6. The Habs had a stretch of 18 straight series wins, but the Bruins have won 4 of the last 5 sets. This series, a couple of keys to watch for. Ray Bourque back in the Bruins lineup and looking healthy. Canadians need a big performance from Patrick Roy. Early on, the Habs get the first markers. Brian Bellows wraparound, beats John Casey, gives the Montreal Canadiens a 1-0 lead. Montreal continues to press. Kurt Muller working behind the Bruins net. Muller centers to Oleg Petrov. Petrov, quick shot, but big skate saved by John Casey. Boston even picks up on the power play. Ray Bourque lets the shot go. It's blocked. He hits another shot go. This time it goes off Keith Carboneau's skate right to Mario Kirkowski. Puts in the rebound, game tied at 1. The Canadiens regain the lead in the second. Benoit Brunet takes a hit, but lead pass from Mike Keane. Mike Keane, nice move on John Casey into the wide open cage. The Habs out in front 2-1. Patrick Roy then kicks into gear. Adam Oates alone on the breakaway. Patrick Roy stops him. The trailer, Glenn Wesley. Patrick Roy stops him as well. And Brian Sutter says, oh no, we don't need this. We've got to burst this guy's bubble. A little later on, it's Bourque to Jerkowski to Oates. Wide open side of the net, scores. The game is tied at 2. The Habs were down by 2 men. Now they're down by 1 man. Still on the 1-man power play. 51 seconds later, Ted Donato bats the puck in out of the air. The Bruins jump out 3-2, both power play goals. Now, late in the third, Bruins still up by a goal. Habs empty net. Patrick Roy on the bench. Patrice Brisbois to Brian Bellows, but the puck was up around waist high. Bellows couldn't put it in, and the Bruins hang on to take game 1 of the best-of-7 set, 3-2 at the Boston Garden. Jerkowski, Oates, and Donato, the goals for Boston. For Montreal, it was Bellows and Mike Keane. Ray Bourque, a couple of assists in his first game back since his injury. The win snaps Boston's 8-game playoff losing streak. Game 2 will go Monday night at the Boston Garden. Speaking of the Boston Garden, our Michael Whalen was at the Garden and has more in this report.
A couple of penalties late in the second period were the eventual undoing of the Montreal Canadiens as the Bruins scored twice and never relinquished the lead. And as is often the case when the Bruins get it going, it was Raymond Bourque who was smack dab in the middle of it all.
We talked about special teams playing a big role in any game, especially in the playoffs. And tonight we came on the plus side. We scored 3 power play goals and really did a good job in the PK. So we came out, with a win, and that was the difference in the game.
It kind of can turn the tide right there. That was a big kill for us, and then when we got it, we were thinking, hey, let's do it. Nothing was really said. You could just feel it. And 5-on-3s are tough situations to kill for any length of time. And our power play was clicking, and we were able to capitalize.
I told him, hey, that was a dumb penalty. He's been a competitor for us all year. He's won us a lot of big games this year, and I wanted to make sure that we try to win the game. I don't have an extra abundance of players who have 40 points or more, and the team has a defenseman, and I was just trying to win a hockey game. I was trying to put aside, we had a full period left. I was trying to put aside and hopefully that we could play well in the third, which we did, but we didn't score.
So the Bruins get over the stigma of losing 4 straight last year to the Buffalo Sabres. The Canadiens, in the meantime, lick their wounds, hope to come back in game 2 of this quarterfinal series. Michael Whalen, TSN, in Boston, Massachusetts.
Elsewhere on the ice, semi-finals Saturday at the World Curling Championships at Oberstdorf, Germany. Canadians well represented in both the women's and men's draws as well. Sandra Peterson.
Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, Team Canada sweeps at the World Curling Championships. The magnificent one is healthy, and that doesn't spell relief for the Washington Capitals. More gold on the ice for Canada at Lake Placid. And the Jays get some welcome relief at Anaheim. Hi everyone and welcome to the show. I'm Gino Retta. Great to have you along. Just a few moments away from a complete recap of Day 2 in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. But first, an historic day at the World Curling Championships at Oberstdorf, Germany. For the first time ever, one country has swept the World Junior Men's, Junior Women's, Men's and Women's titles at a single World Curling Championship. First off, the men. Rick Folk and his rink from Kelowna, BC, facing Sweden in the final. First end, Swedish skip Jon-Olof Nassen looking for the double takeout, looking to score one. But instead, he misses the shot. Canada steals one. They're up 1-0. To the third end now, still 1-0 Canada. Sweden is forced to hit and stick for one. Nassen makes the shot. Match is tied at 1. Fourth, fifth, sixth ends, all blank. Seventh end now. Sweden with 3 rocks in the house, but Folk with the hammer. He draws for a single point. 2-1 Canada back out in front. Ninth end now. Sweden hoping to blank the end and score 2 in the 10th to win it. But instead, they're forced to take one as their rock will hit and stick. To the 10th end now. Match tied at 2. Canada with the hammer, so their objective is to clear the sheet and draw for 1. Here, Bert Gretzinger clears the ice with a double takeout and gets a bonus when the Canadian guard then remains in the house. Still in the 10th end, Sweden now line 1, but Folk with the hammer, and that is the difference. He draws to the forefoot for the point, and Canada defeats Sweden. Final score in the World Championship final. Canada over Sweden 3-2. This is Rick Folk's second victory at the Worlds. His first came 14 years ago, back in 1980. Speaking of second victory, Sandra Peterson and her rink from Regina looking for their second consecutive victory at the World Curling Championships as they face Christine Cannon of Scotland and her rink. This was a basic takeout game as both teams knocked out every stone in sight. First end, Peterson hits and sticks, 1-0 Canada. Third end, Scotland forced to draw for 1 or give up 1.
And even this game up.
Cannon does, match tied at 1. Fourth end now, Peterson wants to blank the end, but instead she hits and stays in the house. Canada up 2-1. To the 7th end we go, game tied at 2, and this was a turning point. Peterson hits and sticks for 2. And with this, she gives Canada a 4-2 lead. 8th end now, Scotland in some trouble. Their rock catches something on the ice, and that's it. It's gone. It goes astray. And instead of Scotland scoring one, Canada steals one, and they take a commanding 5-2 lead. So when we go to the 10th end, Canada is up by a score of 5-3. Christine's Cannon, she's trying to draw to get it in, but Christine Cannon's shot goes right through the house. And with that, Scotland just doesn't have enough rocks left. So Canada hangs on to win it 5-3. Sandra Peterson has done it. Peterson and Regina rink win back-to-back world titles. Congratulations to both of our Canadian rinks. Matter of fact, including our juniors, congratulations to all 4 of our Canadian rinks. Linda Moore spoke to the world champ skips right after the finals.
Well, it's a great day in Oberstdorf. Sandra Peterson and Rick Folk skipping their teams to wins at the World Curling Championships. And Sandra, a terrific week and a great day for you.
Well, the team just played great all week, and the final was pretty wide open, but we were very happy with the result.
Well, they're saying dynasty 2 in a row. How does it feel?
It feels really good. It's something that Canadian women's team has never done, and we're just ecstatic about it. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be like when we get home, but I think it'll be wild.
I'm sure it will. And Rick Folk as well. The men's win. Terrific game.
Thank you very much, Linda. You know, our guys played good all the way through there, and we played an excellent team in Sweden, and we feel just fabulous about winning it. That was a great feeling.
And how about the second one? Any different than the first?
Actually, very similar. One of the big differences is I threw my last shot on this one. In the 1980, I didn't have to, but you know, the feeling I've got right now is almost identical. And say hi to all the people back home in Kelowna and all across Canada that support us. It was fabulous.
Well, we congratulate you both. A great day here in Oberstdorf.
To day 2 now in the 1993-94 Stanley Cup Playoffs. 4 conference quarterfinal matchups got underway today. Included on the Sunday menu, Pittsburgh at home to Washington. All that mattered here, Mario Lemieux
is fully healthy. Mario Lemieux with 52 goals, 63 assists, and 115 points in 60 postseason games. But it's the Capitals that start off first as Dmitry Kristich puts it in and gives the Capitals a 1-0 lead. After the first, the Pens even things up. Mario Lemieux will put the puck in off of Kevin Hatcher. They say you got to be good to be lucky. Mario Lemieux is both. This game's tied at 1. Now to the second period. Penguins leading 2-1. Peter Bondro with a great effort on the wing, beating Tom Barrasso, and with it he ties the game at 2. Now to the third period. Caps leading 3-2. Penguins pressing. Jaromir Jagr with the great move in on goal. Beaupre comes up with the terrific stop. And check out the Penguins bench. They thought, it's in, it's in, it's in. No, it's not in. Watch this. Dale Hunter on Mario Lemieux. You wonder why Mario Lemieux sometimes is rendered ineffective. Well, midway through the third, Joey Juneau, not at all ineffective, as he beats Barrasso 4-2. Washington Capitals at that point, they would add another goal on to win this one by a final score of 5-3. It was Kristich, Bondra, Ridley, Juneau, and Pavanka the goals for the Caps. For the Penguins, it was Lemieux and Joey Mullen. The Capitals are now 3-0-1 in the last 4 games versus the Penguins. They are on a roll against the Penguins. On to New Jersey now. Dominik Hasek brings his minuscule 1.95 goals against average as the Sabres face the Devils. Martin Brodeur, the rookie, at the other end of the ice in net for the Devils. Bobby Carpenter sets the tone with a big hit here on Bob Ray. What a hit that was behind the net. Just before the end of the first period, Sabres on the power play. Dale Howardchuk lets the shot go. It's stopped. Todd Simon is there to poke in his first career NHL goal. And it would go on to be the winner, 1-0. Second period action, New Jersey in the power play. Dominik Hasek frustrates the Devils. First, it's Claude Lemieux. Then Jim Dowd on the rebound. The Devils cannot get by Hasek. To the third period now. Time running out. Alexander McGill, the empty netter, pops it in. That ices the victory. Dominik Hasek with the big shutout. Sabres with a big victory. 2-0 the final score. Todd Simon, Alexander McGillney the goals. Hasek 30 saves for his first career shutout in the playoffs. On out of Madison Square Garden in New York. Ronnie Hextall starting in goal for the Islanders as they face the Rangers. Gets off to a shaky start though. Brian Leetch, top of the slot, lets the wrist shot go. Fools Hextall, 1-0 Rangers. The Rangers just keep on coming on the power play. Alexei Kovalev to Steve Larmer. He beats Hextall, 2-0 Rangers. Al Arbour's thinking, I need Hextall to be hot or we're in big trouble. Well, they were in big trouble. Watch this. Mark Messier just dumps the puck on net. It goes through Hextall and in. 3-0. That was a soft one. Mike Richter not getting a lot of work, but when he does get work, he looks good as he stones Pierre Turgeon. Some bad news for the Isles. Ray Ferraro is hooked to the ice by Jeff Bukaboom. When he falls, he twists his knee. He would later have to leave the game. Go to late the second period now. 4-0 Rangers. Larmer ahead to Kovalev. Kovalev beating Hextall upstairs. 5-0 Rangers. And they can celebrate at MSG as the Rangers draw first blood in the Subway Series in New York. Make the final score in this one. Rangers defeating the Isles by a score of 6-0. It was Leach, Larmer, Messier, Graves, Kovalev, and Zubov the goals for the Rangers. Mike Richter, his third career playoff shutout. To the first of the Western Conference games now, and to the first NHL postseason game ever played in the state of Texas. The Stars and the Blues at Dallas. Bob Gainey with the surprise starter in goal. He left Andy Moog, the 10th winningest goaltender of all time, on the bench, and went with Darcy Wakaluk, who was appearing in just his third playoff game. But the story of the first was Curtis Joseph. Big stop here as he grabs the puck before it crossed the line, robbing Neil Broughton. To the second, Cujo can't stop them all. Look at the big traffic in front of the net. Finally, Dave Gagne pops it in, gives Dallas a 1-0 lead. Then just over a minute later, the Stars on the power play. Brent Gilchrist with the rebound, beating Joseph to the traffic again. It's 2-0 Dallas. Later in the period, Brendan Shanahan, nice feed to Alexei Kazatonov in the slot. He finds the town corner. Blues cut the lead to 2-1. But Dallas continues to press. Russ Courtnall with the beautiful backhand pass to Brent Gilchrist. He scores his second of the game, 3-1 Stars. The third, 3-2 Dallas. Phil Housley's wrist shot scores. And that ties the game at 3, but not for long as Dallas storms back. Craig Ludwig's shot from the point, redirected by Grant Ledyard. That made the score 4-3 for the Stars. Dallas would add another, go on to win game number 1 of this best-of-7 set with the Blues, 5-3. Kazatonov, Hall, and Housley, the goals for the Blues. For Dallas, Gagne, Gilchrist, Ledyard, and Klatt. Darcy Wakaluk, just his third appearance in a playoff game, makes 33 saves in his first victory in the postseason. All right, we'll preview tomorrow's NHL games when we come back, and we'll also go to Lake Placid, where the Canadian women's hockey team took on Team USA, looking for their third consecutive World Championship.
Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, the Canucks push around the Flames in Game 1 of their series. The Blackhawks were rough, but the Leafs held the upper hand. The Sharks feast on the Wings in the Motor City. Barrie has a bonding experience with Expo pitching, and everyone's reaching for the bottom on the Plays of the Week.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome to TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor, and Monday night, the sports schedule could be summed up in one word: busy. Lots happening everywhere, and we're going to get right to it with the NHL playoffs off the top. Last season, both the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames were supposed to vie for the old Smythe Division title, but neither made it out. So this time around, both teams have something to prove as they clash in round one. The Canucks would like to prove they can win the big one, and the Flames that they can recapture some of the old glory from back in 1989 when they won the Cup. Their opening game was rough right off the start. Trent Yawney delivers Pavel Bure a message early on, pounding him into the boards. Kirk McLean also delivers a message telling the Flames, "I'm going to stone you tonight." First he stops German Titov, and then Yawney. More on pleasantries a little bit later on as Tim Hunter pushes Ronnie Stern right into the Vancouver bench. Vancouver will draw first blood early in the second period. Calgary sloppy and clearing. Jeff Courtnall from the corner throws it out in front, and it goes in. Initially, they gave that to Pavel Bure. They changed it later to Jeff Courtnall. 1-0 Canucks. They add to that lead a little bit later on the power play. The Flames block a couple of shots before Cliff Ronning gobbles it up and fires it over Mike Vernon. Cliff Ronning breaking a little drought there. 2-0 Vancouver. And that wasn't what Dave King had in mind for Game 1 at the Saddledome. Certainly, it gets worse. Dave Babbage steps into one from the point, and Vernon doesn't even see that. So the Canucks are up 3-0 on the road in Calgary. Spin ahead to the third period now. Paul Cruz trying to get the Flames on the board. Rips that wrist shot, but McLean makes a nice glove save. The Canucks keep coming at Calgary. Trevor Linden sent in alone, and he will zing one along the ice past Mike Vernon. Flames down 4-0, and they go on to lose this one 5-0. A good game by the Vancouver Canucks. Courtnall, Ronning, Babbage, Linden, and Brown doing the goal scoring there. Canucks lead the series 1-0. 31 saves for McLean, his third career playoff shutout. One of the big stories, the Flames 0 for 9 on the power play. Let's get a report now from TSN's Lisa Bowes in Calgary.
With the Canucks leading 1-0 midway through the second period, the Flames were awarded a two-man advantage for close to 2 minutes. Now in the playoffs, you have to capitalize on those opportunities. The Flames did not, and the game quickly turned in Vancouver's favor.
I think it was a key part, obviously. At that time, it was a crucial time in the game, and I questioned the second penalty, but it happened, and our guys got through it.
We played a good first period. Kirk made some good saves to keep us in early, and that's what we needed. We needed that confidence builder, and Kirk showed it and gave us confidence. We built it out from the goal, and that's playoff hockey. That's what it's all about.
We had a lot of chances on our power play, and we didn't score, and they had a few chances, and they did score. So I mean, that's how things go sometimes. We just didn't get the bounces, and then it kind of went downhill from there.
First one's always tough on the home team, I think. Nervous team over there, I think, and it's tough starting at home. We've done that the last 2 years, and we played well on the road all year, so we felt pretty comfortable coming in.
I'm not surprised at the outcome. No, I think we've got a good hockey team here. We had an up and down season, and we didn't really play to our potential. But if we play a good, solid two-way game, we can skate with the best of them. And whether we frustrated Calgary tonight or they were a little flat, I don't know. But you got to give credit to our guys also.
I definitely think maybe it was the best thing that happened to the Calgary Flames. Sometimes when you lose by one goal, it gives the team maybe false hopes or led to believe that you played better than you actually did. And getting beat 5-0 is an old shellacking. And I'm sure when the guys come back in the room tomorrow, it'll be a real eye-opener, and we'll be a much better team on Wednesday.
The Canucks set a franchise record for road wins during the regular season. They have now carried that success over into the playoffs, shocking the Flames here in Game 1 on the strength of a Kirk McLean shutout. Lisa Bowes, TSN, Calgary.
All right, thank you, Lisa. It was supposed to be playoff hockey at its best in Toronto. Tight checking, grinding, probably some of the clutch and grab, and barely enough room to breathe, let alone skate and stick handle. In other words, a typical Leafs-Blackhawks game. But in Game 1 of their series, Only grinding we could see was Hawks head coach Daryl Sutter grinding his teeth. Let's show you why as we head to Toronto for the highlights of this one. Eddie Belfour in net, obviously, for Chicago, and Felix Potvin for Toronto. Belfour looks a little bad early on. Wendell Clark from outside the blue line. Now, this was tipped, but Belfour still had plenty of time to get a beat on it. But Wendell scores 2.5 minutes in. The Leafs are up 1-0. Special teams doing a great job for the Leafs on this night. On the power play, Mironov breaks his stick, but Andreychuk is able to slide it over to Gilmore in the scramble. Gilmore with the open net. Toronto up 2-0. Not a good start for Daryl Sutter and the Hawks. Leafs up actually 3-0 after 1, and they keep it up in the second period. Off the faceoff, Mark Osborne will kick it to Jamie McCowan. McCowan's shot gets through traffic and beats Belfour. Toronto up 4-0 early in the second period. Hawks' frustration begins to show after the whistle. Chelios getting a talking to from Gilmore, and he reacts. Chelios in the box. Dmitry Mironov with a nice feed. Dave Andreychuk wide open net for the redirection. 5-0 Toronto. And the Hawks continue to lose their cool. Mironov with a clean check on Joe Murphy. Murphy responds with the pitchfork to the solar plexus. Down goes Mironov, and out goes Murphy. And then after another whistle, there's Eddie Belfour giving a face full of glove to Peter Zezel. All Daryl Sutter can do tonight is bite his nails, and maybe a little early, but Toronto fans fired up. They think they see a cup coming. The Leafs beat the Hawks in Game 1, 5-1. Wendell Clark, Doug Gilmore, Kent Manderville, Jamie McCowan, and Dave Andreychuk did the scoring. Chelios with the only reply for Chicago. The Maple Leafs lead the series 1-0. Let's get a report from Maple Leaf Gardens with TSN's Rod Smith.
You might say this one was over and done with after Toronto's first 5 shots of the game. In that number, they scored 3 times, including the shorthanded goal to put things away, it seemed, by Kent Manderville. Chicago really got frustrated and never seemed to be able to come back after that. Ed Belfour, normally a standout goalie for the Hawks, had a rough night, especially in that first period, and he didn't get much support either. Chicago managed only 5 shots in that first frame.
It was not easy victory. We had to work for it. I mean, say, no, they didn't give it to us. We came out and skating and shooting, and we got some goals, and we were second half they were better than us in the first half.
It's something in the playoffs where you have to play tough, but you have to play smart, and we don't want to take any unnecessary penalties, and that's what we try to do is just go out there, play tough, and then play the game.
We played 2 good periods. I mean, I think the third period they really kept coming at us, and they made some good hits, and they had some good forecheck going. And, you know, when you get up a couple goals early in the game, especially against this team that plays so well defensively, you know, it's a lot easier to get in the game, that's for sure. I think everybody was a little nervous at the beginning.
Eddie is probably one of the biggest competitors in the National Hockey League. He hates to lose. He refuses to lose, and he's one of the fiercest competitors, I think, in the game. And
obviously, we didn't compete at all. We didn't show up from the beginning, and that's the only thing we have going for us. Know we can play better. They played well. They took advantage of a team that wasn't ready, and we got to come back and show some character and come back and try and win game number 2.
So while the Leafs can't help but be happy with that first game of the series, the Hawks will try to just forget about it and look ahead to game number 2 on Wednesday night, hoping to get a split. They head back to Chicago Stadium. Rod Smith, TSN in Toronto.
Speaking of splits, the split, not the kind of thing we're talking about, not bowling. We're talking about the aim of every visiting team in the playoffs, beginning a series in hostile territory. Montreal Canadiens, after a split in Boston on Monday night. They lost game 1 Saturday, of course, and the defense corps, a bit of a problem for Coach Jacques Demers with Matthew Schneider out for the series. He had to dress Peter Popovich in this one, and Jacques Demers, an hour and a half before game time, thinking about the game, and Montreal gets off to a good start after going 0 for 6 on the power play game 1. They strike with a man advantage early in this game. Kirk Muller gets the Habs on the board, 1-0 Montreal in Boston. Then things start to fall apart for Montreal. Kevin Haller, one of their defensemen, tossed out of the game for high sticking. Demers is down to 5 defensemen for the rest of the game. Then Brent Hughes nails Eric Desjardins with a big hit behind the net right there. And Desjardins is down, had to leave the game for a time, so he was down to 4 defensemen. But Montreal defensemen weren't the only ones being hit. Look at Dave Reed, rock referee Dan Marwelli right there. Meantime, Patrick Waugh, solid goaltender in the playoffs as always until the second period when he got too much traffic in front of him here and did not see this big blast from Don Sweeney from the point. So a 1-1 tie at that goal. Then a minute to play in the second Boston power play. This time Glenn Wesley from the point. More traffic in front of Patrick Waugh. Couldn't see a thing. 2-1 Bruins. Move to the third. Montreal fights back. One of last year's playoff heroes, Paul DiPietro, gobbles it up off the boards and fires an innocent wrist shot. It beats John Casey, and it's 2-2. Midway through the third, great passing here. DiPietro again to Kirk Muller, and boy, does he get rid of it quickly. Gets it on the stick, and it is gone, and it is past the glove of John Casey. 3-2 Habs lead. Late in the game, best chance of the Bruins. Ray Bourque from the slot, or from the high circle. What a save by Patrick Waugh. Unbelievable glove save, and Waugh and the Canadiens stump the Boston Bruins in game number 2, a 3-2 victory, and that ties the series up. Kirk Muller with a pair, DiPietro with the other. Sweeney and Wesley were flying for Boston. Patrick Waugh, 40 saves. The Canadiens outshot 42-24. Next action will be Thursday night in Montreal, but in Boston on Monday, our own Michael Whalen.
The Canadiens played a very aggressive hockey game this evening, and for a while it looked like a couple of undisciplined penalties in the early going might do them in. But the power play came through for the Habs this evening, led by Kirk Muller and Paul DiPietro.
We knew we had to go harder. You know, it's I know the big talk the first game was their special teams, but you know, they outworked us to create those chances, and tonight was the difference. Is, you know, we went hit for hit with them, and it was a tough game. Both teams played well. Both teams played hard. It was one of those games where someone had to win, and fortunately, you know, we got a couple breaks tonight.
Penalties are bound to be part of the game right now, and we took some bad ones. We can't afford to do that against these guys because they got a good power play, but we bounced back, and you know, we showed some character coming back in the third period.
We played a very good game. We had a tough situation at the start of in the first period, and we killed that 5-on-3 and that 5-on-4 for 5 minutes, and that was a good boost for us. And they came back again in the end of the second period, but we came back stronger in the third period and get that game.
I thought we played a pretty solid hockey game tonight. You know, a goal either way, you know, would have changed the outcome of the game. It's not like we got blown out tonight. It was a pretty solid hockey game by both clubs, and you know, we're going up to Montreal looking for a win now. Bring home ice advantage back.
We came here for a split, and we disappointing loss last game, and everybody came out and played a great game. We came out hitting, and got great goaltending from Patrick, and the end result was a win.
We played in our building. We played very well in Montreal, but they're going to come and they're going to try to do the same that we did to them.
And so the Canadiens accomplished what they were hoping for, coming out of the Garden with one win, and some say with momentum in their favor. Michael Whalen, TSN in Boston, Massachusetts.
All right, thank you, Michael, and we'll take a short break here on TSN Sports Desk. More hockey highlights to come when we come back to the Western Conference for a Shark Shocker in Detroit. Stay with us.
Here's your din-din, big fella, huh? Yeah. Here's Daddy's din-din.
Once you get a look at those 2 all-beef patties.
No, this is Daddy's. Would you try some of this?
That special sauce and processed cheese all on that sesame seed bun. You've got to have a Big Mac.
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
You just spray it on.
You just spray it on.
New Quicksilver Wheel Cleaner from Armor All. Just spray it on, and then just spray it off.
That's it? That's it.
Quicksilver Wheel Cleaner.
Protector, a razor so sharp it has to be kept behind bars. Protective guard wires ensure that while the shave is close, there is no safer wet shave. Protector, only from Wilkinson Sword.
Welcome back to Sports Desk. No secret that no team in the Western Conference wanted to play the San Jose Sharks in the first round. Sharks are a well-coached club, a no-nonsense guy in Kevin Constantine, and they have been playing playoff-style hockey all season long. That is something the Detroit Red Wings found out Monday night in San Jose's first ever NHL playoff game. There is the no-nonsense Kevin Constantine looking for an upset in the Motor City, and it looks like a possibility early. Sean Cronin with a blast from the point. Essence's screen, couldn't find it. 1-0 for the Sharks at JLA. Sharks swarming later. Johan Garpenlov to Igor Larionov in the slot. Gets rid of it in a hurry, beats Essence, and the Sharks are up 2-0. Go figure. Scotty Bowman trying to figure out what's hit his club here. Still in the first period, Jeff Norton of the Sharks with a point shot. Sergei Makarov pokes the rebound under Bob Essensa, and it'll trickle in, and it's 3-0 San Jose after 1 period. Early in the second, Detroit finally scores. The puck will come to Steve Chason in front, and his backhander beats Arthur Zerbe, so Detroit's on the board, but the Sharks are up 3-1. Before the end of the second, though, Darren McCarty down the left wing. He will shovel it in front to Sheldon Kennedy, who converts nicely, tipping it by Zerbe. So 3-2 Sharks after 2. Detroit coming back. Early third period, Chason shot from the point. McCarty lying in front of the net gets a piece of that, and it deflects in. So brand new game, 3-all. And the fans in Detroit, you know what that means? They throw the octopus on the ice. Sure they do. Sharks went back up 4-3, but the Wings got that one right back. Weird bounce here off the boards. Watch Zerbe scrambling to cover up. Greg Johnson of the Red Wings dives for it and pokes it in as he runs into Zerbe, and they checked it on the video review. It counted, so 4-all. But the Sharks get the winner. Todd Ellick in front to Vlastimil Krupa. We don't know him either. You don't have him in the pool, surely, but we do know he's the youngest player in the NHL playoffs right now. He gets the winner, 5-4 for San Jose. What a shocker. And the Sharks celebrate a victory in their first ever NHL game. 5-4 the final score. Cronin, Larionov, Makarov, Baker, and Vlastimil Krupa. Chason, Kennedy, McCarty, and Greg Johnson for Detroit. The Red Wings outshot the Sharks 37-24, but Bob Essensa only had 19 saves, and the Sharks are up 1-0 in this series. Okay, let's go to Manhattan now, where Ron Hextall was thrashed in Game 1 with the Rangers, so Jamie McLennan gets the call in Game 2. That made no difference, though. Look at Kovalev get this up in a hurry as he's in close. 1-0 for the Rangers. Then 18 seconds into the second period, Mark Messier in alone on a breakaway, buries it between the legs of McLennan. Rangers on top, 2-0. And with Richter in net, you know that the Islanders are in trouble. Rangers continue to press. Larmer with a chance. Kevin Lowe finally puts it in. 3-0 for the New York Rangers. Al Arbour trying to rally his team, so the Islanders do turn it up a notch. Benoit Hogue with a nice pass to Brad Delgarno, who tips it nicely, but Mike Richter is there. Great save. Rangers skate right back down into the Islanders' end. After that, Brian Noonan finds Craig McTavish. Beautiful pass. McTavish just has to tap it in. That puts the Rangers up 4-0. And the slaughter continues. Alexander Karpovtsev with a blast from the point. Stefan Matteau got a stick on that. 5-0 for the Rangers. And the Ranger fans obviously have their sights on something higher. Get the banner ready, they're saying, in Manhattan. Richter earns his second straight shutout in this series. 6-0 again. Kovalev, Messier, Lowe, McTavish, Matteau, and Noonan. Mike Richter, 29 saves. Game 3 of the series Thursday night on Long Island. Next action in the NHL playoffs, Tuesday night, Eastern Conference quarterfinal action right here on TSN. Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, Tom Barrasso's capital effort brings the Pens even with Washington. While in New Jersey, the Devils were no angels, they get back to square one with the Sabres. Rick's a folk hero as he returns to Kelowna, BC. More fireworks from the Blue Jay Bats at Skydome. And new BC Lions quarterback Kent Austin says he's hanging him up.
Sports Desk, brought to you by the new Gillette Sensor XL and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Brendan Connor, welcoming you to another edition of TSN Sports Desk. Certainly some interesting results in the NHL playoffs so far, and a couple of teams needing to get wins on Tuesday to avoid hitting the road down 2 games. Let's start our show with the 2 playoff games in the NHL from Tuesday. Sometimes you find the best series where you never really expected them. The Washington Capitals playoff record hasn't exactly been stellar, but new head coach Jim Schoenfeld must be doing something right with that club. His Caps went into Game 2 of their series against Pittsburgh, leading the Penguins 1-0. And if one team knows how to deal with adversity, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins, so we did expect them to be back in this. Now, interesting thing here, they started Byron Defoe instead of Don Beaupre, who won Game 1. Early story of this game, the boards. Larry Murphy takes a shot from the point, bounces off the backboards, and Mario Lemieux is there to slide it under Byron Defoe. 1-0 Pens, and the boards were like rubber there. A couple minutes later, the boards strike again. Taglianetti with a shot. Puck takes a bad bounce. Defoe makes a good save off Jagger, but he never gets up on his feet, and Tocchet is able to spin and fire from the dot and it's 2-0 for the Penguins. And the Pittsburgh fans, of course, happy about that turn of events. Some of them maybe a little too happy. Cap strike early in the second. Kevin Hatcher with the shot. Partially stopped, but Mikhail Pavanka is there to slide the rebound past Barrasso. 2-1. The Penguins lead is cut in half, and some of the fans are, well, kind of shook up about that, baby. Some big hitting in this game. John Selaney nailed by Sean McEachern right there. Meantime, in between the pipes, Tom Barrasso really a rock for the Pens. He makes a good save coming up off Peter Bondra right there, dead to rights in the slot, but he stopped him. And then a good save here off Dmitry Kristich on the backhand. Barrasso continues to shine throughout the night, makes another great save off Kevin Hatcher right there, who walked right in on a 2-on-1, caps out shooting the Pens 22-4 after the first period. But the Pens can thank Tom Barrasso, and they are back in the series with a 2-1 win at home over Washington. Lemieux and Tocchet with the goals, Pavanka for Washington. The series is tied now 1 apiece. Penguins just 3 shots on goal in the second period, 1 shot on goal in the third. Tom Barrasso 34 saves. Game 3 goes Thursday night in Washington. Well, coming off a shutout loss can bring out the best or the worst in a team. They can either go into the next game totally disheartened, or they can go more determined than ever to come back. In Game 1 of their series against the Buffalo Sabres, the New Jersey Devils were blanked by Dominik Hasek. But Tuesday night, they managed to get even. Muckler and company hoping for another great performance from Dominik Hasek, their goaltender. He doesn't disappoint early on. Valery Zalapugin with a deflection there, but Hasek stays right with him. Great stop, so scoreless after 1. Devils get on the board first, beating Hasek on the 2-on-1 here. It is Nichols to Richer, scores, and it's 1-0 for New Jersey. And the New Jersey fans saying, "Hey, hot dog, let's get into this one." Our team finally scored. Martin Brodeur, their goaltender, working on a shutout on this night, holds on to a big blast here from the point. Philippe Boucher, there's the shot, and there's the save. Devils still up 1-0. Hasek playing well, though. John McLean will be robbed right here on the doorstep. Then he tries to wrap around. Dave Hannon comes in and stops it first, and then Hasek gets across and gets the glove down on the line. Great goaltending. Sabres finally saw Brodeur early in the third. Big scramble around the crease. The puck will eventually come back, and McGillney, standing on the doorstep, bangs in a rebound. 1-1. But the Devils, not to be denied on home ice. Scott Stevens, shot from the point, goes in off Richard Smellick, the Buffalo defenseman. No chance for Hasek. 2-1 for the Devils, and the Devils hang on for that win. 2-1. They get a split out of the first 2 games on their home ice, so they head back to Buffalo for Game 3, tied at 1 game apiece. Richer and Stevens with the goals for the Devils. McGillney for the Sabres. Bernie Nichols setting up both New Jersey goals, and again, going back to Buffalo for Thursday night. Having a bad game in the first...
We're working overtime here at Hockey Control because there is big news out of Montreal that will have a terrific impact on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Canadian superstar netminder Patrick Roy is in hospital today with a suspected attack of appendicitis. That news comes just hours before Game 3 between the Canadiens and the Bruins. Montreal Canadian General Manager Serge Savard made this announcement a short time ago.
Patrick was hospitalized this morning at 9 o'clock, and I received a call from our doctor about 9:45 that he has, you have to read this. Comment c'est un appendice?
Diagnosed appendicitis.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed with appendicitis.
Appendicitis, and he'll be treated with antibiotics today. And our doctors are telling us that there's 50% of chance that things will clear up by tomorrow morning, and there's a 50% of chance that he has to go through surgery tomorrow morning.
A damaging blow for the Montreal Canadiens in the midst of their bid to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. It means that Ron Tugnutt will start in goal for the Canadiens in Game 3 against the Boston Bruins at the Forum tonight. We'll have a full report at 6:30 with Jim Van Horn on Sports Desk. Right now, let's get you to Sports Desk with Brendan Connor.
Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, let's see how the Canucks and the Flames highlights grab you. 2 of the NHL's best put on a goaltending clinic in Toronto. Once again, they tell us the Northlands dispute in Edmonton appears to be over. Kent Austin roars back at the Lions. The Ticats land a former NFL quarterback. And you can also catch the Expos Padres highlights.
Sports Desk brought to you by Makita Canada Incorporated, Canada's leading manufacturer of professional power tools. And by Volkswagen Golf, engineered for life.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor, and over the next 30 minutes, we'll be going full tilt to try to keep up with current events from a hectic Wednesday in sports. News from the CFL, scores from the NBA and Major League Baseball, but we're going to start, of course, with the NHL playoffs. And a Calgary Flames team that was determined to forget about Game 1 of their series against Vancouver. It was a 5-0 shutout at the Saddle Dome by Vancouver. The Flames squandered 9 power play opportunities to give the Canucks a 1-0 lead in the series. An edge the Flames wanted to erase in game number 2, and they came out very interested and very focused under Dave King's guidance. The rough stuff continues from game 1. Gary Roberts gets mugged here by Gerald Diddick along the boards. The Flames break out first in this one, though. Robert Reichel, nice drop pass here to Joe Nieuwendyk, who snaps it past Kirk McLean. 1-0 for the Flames. But the Canucks come right back. Jeff Brown, shot from the point. Mike Vernon gets a piece of it, but it does trickle through, so the game's tied at 1. The Flames, though, regain the lead. Joel Otto will find Mike Sullivan in the slot, and he will bury one past McLean. 2-1 Calgary. Nice goal there. They score 3-1 now in the first for the Flames. They get a beauty of a goal. Great passing, Nieuwendyk over to McGinnis to finish it off, and the Flames have a 4-1 lead after 1 period. On to the second period, 6-3 Calgary. Martin Jelena will go in on a breakaway for Vancouver, though Vernon again gets a piece of it, but not enough. 6-4, the Flames lead cut to 2. Third period, good passing here by Calgary. Roberts gives it to German Titov. He puts a great move on Kirk McLean to make it 7-4 for the Flames. But again, the Canucks stay close. Cliff Ronning will sweep one toward the net here. Trevor Linden takes it off the backboards and stuffs it in past Mike Vernon. Canucks still in at 7-5 Flames, but that is how it ended. 7-5 for Calgary, so they even up the series. McGinnis with a pair, Nieuwendyk with a pair, Sullivan, Fleury, and Titov with the singles. Brown, Courtnall, Ronning, each with their second goal of the series. Linden with his second, and Martin Jelena with his first. That was the scoring for Vancouver. Al McGinnis, 5 points. That's a new Flames playoff record. And Gary Roberts, 3 goaltender interference penalties. Wow, go figure that. How often does that happen? Lisa Bose was at the game at the Saddle Dome and sent us this report after the game.
What was expected in Game 1 of this series materialized in Game 2. Emotional, intense, and rough. 30 minutes of penalties were called in the first period alone. The Flames taking advantage of 2 4-on-4s to build a 3-goal lead. The Canucks, down early, were unable to recover.
I think our club was tentative to start. We weren't jumping on the loose pucks. Heck, they were beating us to the shoot-ins, and we weren't nearly as good, and I'd have to say our forwards didn't do as nearly as good a job, and it works backwards, obviously, from there, but our forwards up ice just didn't do as good a job as they did the other night.
I thought we played well 4-on-4. I think we're a better 5-on-5 team than Vancouver. Hopefully we can play a little more 5-on-5 hockey here in the next few games and take a few wins in Vancouver.
They're a scrappy team. They never quit. You know, just when we thought we had them down and out 2 or 3 times during the course of the game, they seem to get another one and get themselves right back in it, so it was never over till the very end.
The only thing we're worried about right now is wins and losses. I mean, this was a big game for this team, and you know, we couldn't go down into Vancouver down 2-0, and it was pretty quiet in this room before the game. We knew we needed this game, and right now we're just going to concentrate on Game 3.
Unfortunately, we got 3 calls there with him alone on the goalkeeper, but again, we were told by the officials before the series started that the goalies were not to be bowled over, so we'll just expect in future games if that happens to our goalie, it would be called.
I guess the whole year has been like that for us. You know, we play one really good game, and then next game we kind of are just out there. But you know, there's no excuses. We just have to get ready, and I guess today's game, it could have gone either way.
The Flames were not about to repeat their 0-for-8 power play performance in Game 1, and they didn't, going 4-for-10 to even this series at 1 game apiece. Lisa Bose, TSN, Calgary.
Well, there's no arguing the first game between the Maple Leafs and the Blackhawks in their series kind of lacked some intensity. Then again, kind of hard to get intense about a game that was 5-1 final score. Really, it was over early in Toronto. Fans of Maple Leaf Gardens, though, got the game they were expecting when the teams hit the ice for game number 2. Boy, this was a gem of a game. Jeremy Roenick being counted on certainly for some big play for the Blackhawks, and he starts out sparking them with a big hit there on Ken McRae. And then McRae and Eastwood try the Roenick sandwich right there, but they end up nailing each other. Maybe the save of the playoffs. Hawk on the power play here. Look at the wide open net for Patrick Poulin, but Potvin dives across and gets it here. We'll show you again. Diving across, It actually nicks the post, but Potvin makes a huge save there. Darryl Sutter has to be wondering what he has to do to beat this Toronto goaltender. His goalie, Eddie Belfour, having a much better outing in Game 1. Wendell Clark scored from outside the blue line in Game 1. In this one, he's in point blank, but Belfour stops him. Goaltending the story in the second, Toronto applying the pressure. Belfour makes a good pad save here. Rob Pearson then flips it by the open net. At the other end, the Hawks pressing, but Potvin stops Tony Amonte. Then Roenick on the rebound. Great goaltending, still scoreless. The hitting continues too. Bill Berg gives it to Chris Chelios right here. That's one of their plans, to make Chelios pay whenever they can. Game scoreless late in the third. Jeremy Roenick charges in, but Potvin holds his ground. They head to overtime, and 2 minutes and 15 seconds in, the puck comes back to Todd Gill. He takes a shot, and Eddie Belfour probably worried too much about Wendell Clark on the doorstep there. He misplayed the Gill shot. That was the winner. Belfour arguing that he was interfered with, but the argument was to no avail. The goal counts. The Maple Leafs win Game 2 of this series, 1-0. The final score. Potvin 31 saves for his second career playoff shutout. The Blackhawks have lost 10 straight playoff games dating back to the 1992 Stanley Cup Finals when they were swept by the Penguins. The Leafs lead this series 2-0, and TSN's Rod Smith was at this game.
The Blackhawks improved in just about every way over game number 1. They had a better start, they had better discipline, they had much better goaltending. But one thing from game 1 they wish they had in game 2 was a goal. That's because Felix Potvin at the other end of the ice was so unbelievable for the Leafs, especially his save off Paul Yzerbark in the first period. And what makes this loss so heartbreaking for Chicago, it came on a goal they feel should not have been allowed.
Everyone can see it on the replay. It's a simple call. He's too chicken to make the call.
Wendell flipped the top of Eddie's stick on the shot. Should be in it, goaltender interference. Curry missed it.
I can't see what they were complaining about. I'm trying to still figure it out. And we looked at the video, and there's nobody in the crease. Nobody touched anybody. I still don't understand what possibly they could be complaining about. It was a clear shot right in through the 5-hole.
Of course, it's a tough way to lose. You work so hard the whole goddamn game. You go up, your goaltender plays a hell of a game, and then to lose in overtime, 1-0. Of course, that's hard to take. We worked our ass off out there, and they did too. It was a great hockey game.
We knew they were going to come hard, and I just wanted to not let any bad goal by me, and give the guys a chance to win. And it happened that we came out of that first 0-0, and we played good the next 2 periods, and that was Heddy's turn to play very good. So it's a tough game to play, but it's playoff.
That's why in the playoffs, great goaltending will win a lot of games for you. And he's picked right up where he left off last year, and I think in the second and third, our team rallied around him and cut our number of chances down and finally got one in the overtime.
So the Leafs head off to Chicago, very much in command of the series, up 2-0, but also very well aware that it can turn around. That's the way things go in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and it looks like it could be a long one, as many have predicted, especially the way Chicago played in Game 2. Rod Smith, TSN in Toronto.
Well, a must-win situation usually occurs for a Game 4 and any game up after Game 4 in any series. But for the Detroit Red Wings, their must-win situation came early in the series with San Jose. The Wings trailing the Sharks 1-0 after a loss at home. Another loss at JLA would mean going into San Jose down and possibly right out of this series. So the Red Wings wanted to muscle up on the young Sharks, and they surround 5'10" Ray Whitney early on and tell him they mean business. Artur Zerbe under fire again in this one. Watch the moves here by Slava Kozlov of the Wings. Slides it over to Cicerelli, who lets it go from point-blank range, but Urbe just kicks that out. Scoreless after 1. Wings finally beat Urbe in the second. He makes a great save on Sean Burr right here, but the Sharks can't clear, and the puck comes back to Burr in the slot, and this time he rips it past Urbe. 1-0 Red Wings. Physical game at times along the boards. Johan Garpenlov gives it to Vladimir Konstantinov. Konstantinov then pokes him in the beak. Wings go up by 2 early in the third. Watch big Bob Probert stick handle over the line here, and then as he's falling, he lets it go, and it fools Urbe along the ice. 2-0 Detroit. A goal from Probert. Red Wings take control later. Coffey cruises in on the left side, right side, and throws it down front. Dino Cicerelli, you can't see him, but he crashed the crease, banged it in. It counted. 3-0 Wings. Then Nicholas Lidstrom from the point. Cicerelli screening Urbe. No chance there. 4-0 Red Wings. Bad break for Keith Primo, who busts in on the right side and probably busted his nose against Urbe's pad right there. Ouch. At the other end, steady play by Chris Osgood, who got the start instead of Essenson in this one for Detroit. He wasn't tested much, but made a good save right there off Rob Gaudreau. He was steady, Osgood was, and he led his team to a 4-0 shutout of the Sharks, and the Detroit Red Wings pull even Burr, Probert, Cicerelli, and Lidstrom doing the goal scoring. Chris Osgood, 22 saves for the shutout. Games 3, 4, and 5 of the series now all in San Jose. Okay, let's go on to Reunion Arena in Dallas, where Darcy Wakala gets the call again in net for the Stars. He won Game 1. The Blues, though, strike early in the first. Janny to Shanahan. The old Janny to Shanny combination works as Shanahan goes upstairs, 1-0 St. Louis. Second period, Brent Gilchrist gives to Mike Modano. He comes up with a great individual effort and a great shot along the ice stick side and beats the usually solid Curtis Joseph. We're tied at 1. 22 seconds later, Russ Courtnall gobbles up a loose puck in the St. Louis end and blows one over the glove of Curtis Joseph. That's a rocket, and the Stars up 2-1. That lead would be short-lived. Peter Nedved, the Brett Hull, who lets it go quickly from the slot, as he always does. 2-2 tie. Third period, Stars strike again. Mike Modano, several whacks at it in close. He finally stuffs it in. Paul Cavallini gets the assist. 3-2 Dallas there. Brett Hull attempts to tie it, first on the backhand, and then he tries to tap it out of the air, but Wakala comes up with a big save there. And with time running out, Dave Gagne wins a foot race and pokes it into the empty net. And Ron Caron can only look on. Pretty grumpy look, too. His Blues down 2-0. Modano with a pair, Courtnall and Gagne with the singles, Shanahan and Hull replying for St. Louis. St. Louis has lost the 6 previous playoff series they were in, which began 0-2 for the Blues. Game 3 in St. Louis on Friday night. Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, Ron Tugnut is thrown into the fire as a replacement for the ailing Patrick Roy. Can Don Beaupre perform some more magic in the nets for Washington? We'll take a look at the Flames and the Canucks as they prepare for their Game 3. The Expos make it 3 in a row on the West Coast, and Damon Allen hangs up the glove and reaches for the football helmet.
Sports Desk, brought to you by Mizuno. Whether your sport is golf, baseball, volleyball, or running, with Mizuno you've never played better. And by Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor, and we're going to have to move fast over the next half hour to get everything in because there was a lot of action in sports on Thursday night. Let's get it going with the Stanley Cup Playoffs, obviously, and we'll begin with Montreal's medical troubles. As goes Patrick Roy, certainly. So go the Habs. Jacques Demers and the other players on the Canadiens would probably hate to hear that, but really it is true. And Thursday, Patrick Roy was going to the hospital with acute appendicitis. Actually, it wasn't that acute. It was just a case of appendicitis that had to be diagnosed. Either way, Ron Tugnut was in net against the Bruins in game number 3, pressed into service because of Roy's problems. And how much the Montreal Canadiens would miss Patrick Roy in the nets was apparent right from the start. Let's go to the forum for the highlights here. There is Mr. Tugnut. Must have been nervous stepping into Roy's shoes like that. Amidst all the hype, Vincent Riondo gets the start for the Bruins instead of John Casey. Tugnut, though, a little shaky off the start. Mariusz Czerkowski, the wrist shot. It's bobbled by Tugnut. A mad scramble, but eventually he gobbles it up. Bruins strike first in this one on the power play. Adam Oates has Tugnut down. He elects to pass to Brian Smolinski. Lovely pass. Open net. 1-0 Boston. Bruins get a bad goal here along the boards. Fred Knipscher's slap shot will beat Tugnut. He should have had that one. Just like that, it's 2-0 Bruins. Then Dave Reed scores on almost an identical shot. You got to get those. 2 bad goals let in by Ron Tugnut. 3-0 for Boston. Pick it up now. The score's 4-1 Bruins. Mike Keane will go hard to the net for Montreal and stuffs the puck in before the net goes off its moorings. Count it. Boston lead cut to 2. 6 seconds later, Paul DiPietro gets it to Gilbert Dion. He rifles it past Riondo and puts the sword away. Boston's lead cut to 1, but before the period ends, Brent Hughes to Glenn Murray. Zings. No chance for Tugnut there. Boston restores the 2-goal lead. Nothing happened in the third period until late in the third with the Canadiens with 6 attackers. Dave Reed spins and fires from center ice, and it's in. 6-3 for the Bruins. Dave Reed with a pair of goals. That turned out to be the final score, and even Harry Sinden cracked a smile upstairs in the box as the Boston Bruins take the series lead 2-1. Smolinski, Knipscher, Dave Reed with a pair, Brent Hughes and Glenn Murray with the other goals for Boston. Benoit Brunet, Mike Keane, and Gilbert Dion scoring for Montreal. Ron Tugnut allowed 5 goals on 25 shots, and the Montreal Canadiens miss Patrick Roy. Let's go to TSN's Michael Whalen, who was at the game.
The Boston Bruins took advantage of a somewhat stunned and disorganized group of Montreal Canadiens, no doubt still reeling from the absence of Patrick Roy, to take this third game of this series. And on this evening, it was the so-called lesser lights of the Boston Bruins, the Brent Hughes, the Dave Reeds, and the Vincent Riandos that shone for the team.
Our team's got a lot of guys that can put the puck in net and can handle themselves on the ice properly. And, you know, if we're going to win games, our second and third line got to produce some goals.
It's going to be a long series. We just have to step up. And like you said, we have Ray Bork, we have Otsu, we have our stars. But the younger guys and the guys don't get much press. We just have to step our play up and, you know, we'll come through and win a game.
Playoffs is a different game. I mean, the guys with all the points get checked a little tighter, and maybe the other guys, you know, get the extra opportunities that we seem to be getting.
I'll take my part of the blame for this game. My 2 goals I should have had. But it's okay. It's still a long series.
I think the biggest problem with Tugnutt tonight, I really believe when I told him yesterday there's a possibility, I think apparently he was very nervous. I think first thing is I have to replace Patrick Waugh. It's a very tough command.
Quite frankly, we said to hell with Patrick. We didn't really care who was in the net. We wanted to play as hard as we could and do the same things we did the last game, and that's basically the way we started the hockey game.
Every time I've came here before, I've always tried to do as good as a job as I could and help the team win some games, but this is my first win in Montreal, or against Montreal, I think, in all of my career.
No doubt Patrick Waugh watched this game from his hospital bed where he's undergoing antibiotic treatments for what doctors describe as a mild appendicitis attack. However, tomorrow morning the doctors will decide one way or another whether to operate. If they do, Patrick Waugh is gone for this series and beyond. Right now it looks like the Canadiens are in deep trouble without him. Michael Whalen, TSN in Montreal.
Thank you, Michael. Well, Islanders fans certainly expected the Isles to score a goal before Game 3 of their series with the Rangers. The Isles, of course, have been blanked twice by the Rangers so far, 6-0 and 6-0. And in Game 3, the Isles needed to show their fans they had some heart. They needed some goals, and they needed a victory to get back into this series. Let's go to Long Island for game number 3. There's one of the reasons they haven't scored many goals. Mike Richter, very, very solid for the Rangers, and his team has given him a lead each time. There's Esa Tikkanen giving him the lead again. Ron Hextall overplaying it there, 1-0 Rangers. Moments later, Brian Leetch blasts one through a crowd, 2-0 for the Rangers. 14 unanswered goals by New York Rangers. Richter looking good again, in close, good scorer in Pierre Turgeon, but Richter closes the door there. 2-0 Rangers after 1. Gets worse for the home team in the second. Adam Graves left alone in the slot. Zing, you see it come right into your living room, right into the top corner. 3-0 for the Rangers. Al Arbor saying, does anybody here know how to score goals? We got to get some goals. They finally do. Not a great one though. Puck bounces off the boards. Ray Ferraro jams it in before Richter can get back. The Isles are on the board, but still down 3-1. Later, the puck squirts in front to Alexei Kovalev of the Rangers, and he is able to walk in and bury that one behind Hextall easily. 4-1 Rangers after 2, and Adam Graves finished off the Islanders in the third. He gets his second of the game unassisted. This is an easy wrist shot. Hextall's got to get these. 5-1 for the Rangers, and they take a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. And the Brooms are out, and the Islanders have scored 1 goal in 3 games. That one by Ray Ferraro. Tikkanen, Leetch, Kovalev, and Graves with a pair did the scoring for the Rangers. Mike Richter, 21 saves. He's allowed 1 goal in 3 games. His goals against average, 0.33. Ron Hextall allowed 5 goals on 18 shots in this game. Okay, let's go to Washington and Pittsburgh next. And Don Beaupre, who starred in Game 1 for the Caps, was rested in Game 2. He got the start in this one. Physical first period. Look at Brown give Dmitry Kristich a rough ride into the bench. No score early on. Beaupre had a great period, though. Kept the Penguins off the board. Robbed Mario in close there. So no score after 1 period of play. At the other end of the rink, Barrasso was brilliant. Here he stopped Peter Bondra with a glove save. Nice little flick shot by Bondra. Great save by Barrasso. Later in the second, watch this stop. Ridley was robbed right here. The puck comes across, and Barrasso stacks the pads to keep Ridley from scoring. Good goaltending, both ends. Capitals do score first. Short-handed effort. Joe Ricci lets the shot go. It hit something. Did not hit Dave Poulin's stick. It just hit something, I think, and Barrasso had trouble with it, and in it went. Washington up 1-0. Later in the period, Kevin Hatcher whacked Mario Lemieux. Back of the leg right there. Didn't look that bad, but Mario went off, and he's in a great deal of pain. Third period, Beaupre continues to shine. Ron Francis the spin and fire. Beaupre's got that, though. Jaromir Jagr with the deflection, but still the save by Beaupre. Last seconds of the game, the Caps clinging to the 1-goal lead. Joe Ricci from inside his own end flips the puck down the ice. This could be a face-off in your own end if you miss, but he didn't miss. It went right into the net. 2-0 Washington, both goals by Joe Ricci. Don Beaupre with a shutout. Great game there. Pittsburgh down 2-1 in the series now. Don Beaupre stopping 27 for the shutout. The Caps 18 shots in total, only 4 in the first period and 4 in the third. And there have already been 7 playoff shutouts this season. We are seeing some great goaltending, I'll tell you that. And Joe Ricci, a late acquisition from the Tampa Bay Lightning, helps out with the Washington Caps, and they go up 2-1. Okay, let's go to Buffalo next. The Odd is the site here as Buffalo and New Jersey in this one. First period action. Look at this move by Swoboda. Steps around Ken Danico, gets it to Brad May. But Martin Brodeur with a big save there. Talk about good goaltending. Brodeur and Hasek in this series. At the other end, there's Tommy Abilene with a shot on the 2-on-1, and Hasek makes the save. Rebound out to Stefan Richer, and another save by Hasek. Both goaltenders good in this one. Also, some big hitting there. Rob Ray on Randy McKay. That's playoff hockey-style hitting. Less than a minute left in the first. Richer picks up a loose puck, and Hasek, bothered by his own man in the crease there, loses that one. Devils on the board, 1-0. Second period. Hasek gambles here, trying to beat McKay to the puck. Loses the gamble. Abilene has an open net, scores. Devils up 2-0. On to the third period we go. Buffalo trying to rally. Dale Hawerchuk with a great rush, and the defense follows him. He centers for Alexander McGillney, who converts nicely. No chance for young Martin Brodeur there. The Sabres back in it, down 2-1. Hard-hitting game, we said. Rob Ray at it again. Leaves his feet to crunch McKay there. He got a penalty for that. Less than a minute left to go. Now Sabres down 2-1. Alexander McGillney has a chance on this rebound, but can't get the stick on it, so the Sabres are denied, and they lose at home, and New Jersey has the lead in this series. Once again, solid goaltending. Some people think Martin Brodeur has a chance for Rookie of the Year. Most people, of course, talking about Mikhail Renberg, Alexei Yashin, and people like that, Jason Arnott. But some people say Martin Brodeur, possibly. Richer and Abilene with the goals. McGillney replying for Buffalo. 29 saves for... Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, the Flames are running hot in Vancouver, while Ron Caron carries on about a thriller in St. Louis. It's one more night for Ron Tugnut as Patrick Waugh still in sickbay. Lefty Michael Moore sends the champ south, and what a break. Joe Carter beats Scott Erickson hands down.
Sports Desk, brought to you by Mariner Outboards. Better in the long run.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome to TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor. Glad you're along. It'll be a fast trip. Just 3 hockey games on Friday, but plenty of other stuff on the sports menu, the baseball and the big fight. But we'll get started as usual with hockey, playoffs, Canucks and the Flames. Vancouver Canucks, of course, earned a split in Calgary in the first 2 games, and they did so in spite of the fact that Calgary held Pavel Bure off the score sheet. Mike Sullivan of the Flames doing an effective job of shadowing the Russian Rocket, leading goal scorer in the NHL this year. Entering Friday's game with the Canucks, though, he had scored no goals in the 10 that they had put up on the board. Andy Van Hellemond in charge of this game tonight, and refereeing had been a bit of an issue in the last game. Goalie's the story early on, though. Kirk McLean with a nice save off German Titov right there on the backhander. A little bit later, watch Titov try the wraparound, and a whack of Flames come charging into the crease trying to stuff it in, but no luck. Still scoreless. Down at the other end, though, watches Trevor Linden is sent in alone, makes the good move, seems to have Vernon beaten, but Vernon gets a leg on it, I guess, and Trevor Linden misses the net. Then Vernon makes the save of the series for the Flames. Cliff Ronning, wide open net on the rebound, right into the glove, and Mike Vernon gobbles it up. Courtnall shovels it in later, but the whistle had gone. Close checking, tough play from these two teams continues. There's a collision between Babbage and Roberts. Joel Otto gets up slowly a little bit later. Flames have to be concerned about that. Joe Nieuwendyk behind the net gets tied up and knocked down. He goes off limping, and they're worried that may be a recurrence of the knee injury. Joel Otto giving referee Andy Van Hellemond the business about the way he's been handling things. Third period, the goal drought is finally broken. Gary Roberts charges to the front of the net, clears out the traffic, and Wes Walls comes in and tips it past McLean, 1-0 Flames. Then the Canucks come right back. Diddick spinning and firing. And then Momesso got a stick on that, and Mike Vernon beaten. Game tied at 1. A couple minutes later, the Flames regain the lead. Theron Fleury scoots down the right wing, lets it go, beats McLean, 2-1 for Calgary. Now with the score 3-1 Flames a bit later, Pavel Bure will get the puck back after Murray Craven wins the draw. Little wrist shot, and Greg Adams gets a stick on that one on the way in and tips it past Vernon. The score there, 3-2, but Dave King looks up and sees the final score 4-2 as Theron Fleury into the empty net with a couple of seconds to go. Wes Walls with 1, Theron Fleury with 2, Gary Roberts with the other. Sergio Momesso and Greg Adams get the goals for Vancouver, but the Flames win it and they take a 2-1 series lead. And we have more now from TSN's David Pratt.
If this was a heavyweight title fight, then the Flames clearly won round 3. Ironically, the decisive blow was struck by the smallest player on the ice.
Well, after they got one right back after we scored that first one, you know, hey, it was a great game. Everybody played hard, and you know, there's a lot of bumps and bruises in here, and you know, we'll regroup tomorrow and get ready for the one on Sunday.
Game 3, we just followed up from that. We played a good defensive game. We played a solid game both ends of the ice, and that's what the Calgary Flames are noted for. And you know, we did that tonight, and that's why we had some success.
Well, it was a real tough hockey game. I think that you know, we ended up a little bit shorthanded in terms of people, but you know, I like the way our team fought back in the final 20 and got the win. And you know, I thought that under the circumstances, they were full marks for a good win.
I don't like the way we lost, but we played a hard game all night long. I don't mean to be negative about this thing, but I feel as a coach we didn't have to lose that hockey game.
We worked awfully hard to come up short like that, and I think we just got to direct our energy you know, to a good game Sunday afternoon.
Along with being down 2-1, the Canucks have also got to be concerned with the fact that Pavel Bure has yet to score a goal. If that does not change, then this series could be over quickly. David Pratt, TSN, Vancouver.
All right, in the Dallas-St. Louis series, the Stars, of course, enjoyed their first ever playoff games in Texas, scoring a pair of victories over the Blues. Now it is back to St. Louis, and the Blues would like very much if goalie Curtis Joseph could get back some of the magic that he showed last year in the playoffs. He had faced 95 shots in those first 2 games going into Game 3, but he allowed 9 goals, so not as stingy as he used to be. There is Cujo at home now. Darcy Wakaluk once again gets a start for Dallas. Steve Duchesne will have the first shot for St. Louis. First good scoring opportunity from the slot, but Wakaluk makes a save. You can't stop everything, though. Off the faceoff, it's Craig Janney back to Brendan Shanahan, and Shanahan will tee it up and just blow it by Wakaluk into the top corner. Great shot, great goal, 1-0 Blues. Wakaluk, though, plays some good hockey here. The Blues in 2-on-0, and he stops them there by stacking the pads. Meantime, at the other end, Cujo, pretty strong, too. Robs Mike Craig right in front with a great leg save. But the Stars get to Cujo. Richard Matvechuk shot from the point. Innocent shot, tipped in by Trent Klatt in front. Not much a goalie can do on the deflections, all even at 1-1. The Blues will then storm back. They're shorthanded. Shanahan to Kevin Miller, one-timer, wide open net, and he beats Darcy Wakaluk, 2-1 St. Louis. But the Stars bounce right back. On the shoot-around, Curtis Joseph misplays it, and it bounces out, and Churla's got the bad angle, but he rips it into the top corner. Game tied at 2. Stars get another one. Pelle Eklund passes it to Mike Modano, and Modano is able to beat Curtis Joseph before getting slammed into the goalpost there. 3-2, Dallas leads. Move to the third, mad scramble in front of the Stars net. Wakaluk makes 2 stops, but eventually Craig Janney shovels it in, and the game is tied. And watch Ron Caron up in the general manager's box. Yoo-hoo! We got a tie game. Settle down, Ron. Third period, Janney stripped to the puck. Dave Gagne steps up and blows one between the pipes of Curtis Joseph. 4-3. Dallas has the lead again. Stayed that way till the final minute. 28 seconds left. A mad scramble in the Dallas end. Alexei Kazatonov will zing it in from the top of the circle, and that ties it at 4. And Ron Caron whooping it up again, as are the St. Louis players and fans. It goes to overtime, though, and Peter Nedved gets a penalty for St. Louis. Dallas power play. Paul Cavallini, the ex-St. Louis defenseman, gets the winner right there. 8.5 minutes into overtime. Dallas wins it by a score of 5-4, and Dallas takes a stranglehold in this series, winning in St. Louis. Trent Klatt, Shane Churla, Mike Modano, Dave Gagne, and Paul Cavallini with the overtime winner for Dallas. Goals by St. Louis, Shanahan with his second, Kevin Miller, Craig Janney, and Alexei Kazatonov with that tying marker late in the game. Darcy Wakaluk, though, 44 saves for Dallas, and they have the 3-0 lead. They can wrap it up and skunk the Blues with one more victory. Okay, let's go to San Jose now, where Detroit is in there with a 1-1 series tie, and the big hoopla before the game for the first ever playoff game in Northern California. Detroit puts a damper on that party, though. Just 2 minutes in, Sheldon Kennedy feeds in front to Darren McCarty, and the big guy, the tough guy, gets his second goal of the series. You know, the snipers aren't doing it for Detroit. It's the plumbers. 1-0 Detroit. A few minutes later, Sergei Fedorov over to Dino Ciccarelli. Well, he's a sniper, and boy, does he snipe that one right into the top corner, over Urbe's shoulder, under the bar. 2-0 Detroit. Move to the second. The Sharks finally strike. Ulf Dahlen from behind the net gets it out. Rob Gaudreau bangs it in. The Sharks are on the board. It's 2-1 for Detroit. But the Red Wings get that one back. Under a minute to play in the period, and Sean Burr blows one by Artur Zerbe right under the pads on the 2-on-1. Zerbe watching for the pass. Detroit lead is back to 3-1. The Sharks hit the wall, I guess you could say, in their first home playoff game in team history. Chris Osgood was in net again. He got the shutout in Game 2. He got the win in Game 3. The Red Wings had to hang on for a 3-2 win. McCarty, Dino Ciccarelli, and Sean Burr, the goal scorers there. Gaudreau and Makarov scoring for San Jose. Osgood with 22 saves.
Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, Patrick plays in pain in Game 4 at the Forum. Will it be the Hawks or the Leafs that rise to the occasion in Game 3? Rodney Henderson is the newest active debut in Tinseltown. When it comes to picking sides, Joe Carter is definitely a homer, and the Flames are hot under the collar prior to Game 4 against the Canucks.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Gino Retta. Great to have you here. An eerie silence on St. Catherine Street turned to renewed hope as Patrick was back. Patrick Roy out of the hospital bed, back into his equipment in time for game number 4 versus the Boston Bruins. One of the best goalies in the game. No single individual more important to the success of their team than he is. Just released from hospital earlier in the day, Patrick Roy battling an appendicitis attack, back in goal. He looked good early on. Watch his ally afraid. He gets it across to Mario Tchaikovsky, and he's turned away by Patrick Roy. Later on, Patrice Brisebois with the shot from the point. Kurt Muller redirects it. 1-0 Montreal. That was a power play goal. Still in the first period, 2-0 for the Canadiens. Again on the power play, Brian Bellows, great pass out in front. Rocky DiPietro buries it past Vincent Riendo. Habs led 3-0. All power play goals. And the Canadiens fans at the Forum starting to sense a tie in the series, but the Bruins battle back before the end of the first period. Adam Oates is allowed to walk out in front. Roy with the first save, but he can't find the rebound as Oates slides it under a Montreal lead, cut to 3-1. The Burns cut the lead to 1 in the second period. Steve Heinz to stop by. Ted Donato is there to bang in the rebound. Habs lead is cut to 3-2. Some potential bad use of Montreal here. Watch Mike Keane, lower portion of your screen, collides with Glenn Wesley. Wesley falls on his leg. Keane leaves the game with injured knee. More from Michael Whalen on that later on. And Benoit Brunet then puts the puck out to Guy Carbonneau. Canadians open up a 4-2 lead. Harry Sinnen upstairs says, forget about it, it's over. Patrick Roy with his return, 39 saves. Habs even the series at 2 games apiece. They win it by a score of 5-2. Goal scorers for the Montreal Canadiens, Paul DiPietro, Kurt Muller with a pair, Carbonneau and Ronan the other for Montreal. For the Boston Bruins, it was Adam Oates and Ted Donato. Each of them their second of the playoffs. With more from the Forum Montreal, here's Michael Whalen.
Obviously inspired by the return of Patrick Roy, the Canadiens took advantage of a double minor to the Bruins in the first period and scored 2 goals and never did look back. The Canadiens were badly outshot in this game, 41-15, but Patrick Roy, who had been in bed for 3 days with a mild appendicitis attack, was up to the challenge.
I was ready when the game started. You know, I had a good sleep this afternoon. I had a good meal. And even yesterday, it started yesterday to feel better. I ate a lot yesterday. I had 3 normal dinner and it really helped me out.
That's what the win was all about tonight. The Boston Bruins are a very good hockey club. We needed that kind of effort, coming from the nets to the captain's leadership.
We played hard from start to finish, and I don't know what percentage. It was interesting if you took a stopwatch and found out where you played the majority of the hockey game, and sure the hell wasn't in our end of the ring.
Yeah, we're discouraged because we wanted to win, you know. We did a lot of things well. We obviously carried the play when we get that many shots, and you know, we did a lot of things well. We just made some mental errors, and it's very frustrating. But you know, you got to think about it a bit tonight and come out. You know, we got practice tomorrow and regroup.
I think that the big difference tonight and the last game was, you know, last game we made mistakes and they had breakaways or 2-on-1s or 3-on-1s. Tonight, you know, most of the shot they had was 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s, 3-on-2s, except I think the 2 goals where they beat our guy in the corner. They came alone in front of the net, but beside that, I think we played a pretty good defensive game.
It'll be a battered group of Canadians that return to the Garden for Game 5. Not only are they going to be without Matthew Schneider, their best defenseman, but now it looks like Mike Keane, who went out with a knee injury in the second period, could be lost to the team for the rest of this series. Michael Whalen, TSN in Montreal.
The first 10 minutes are crucial. The phrase heard over and over again as the Leafs headed into Chicago Stadium for Game 3 of their series with the Blackhawks. The Leafs hoping to silence the faithful at the Madhouse on Madison and take a stranglehold on the series. Meanwhile, the Hawks looking to ride the intensity of the crowd to an early lead in this game. And that is exactly what happened. 49 seconds into the game, Tony Amonte beating Felix Pavin, who was kind of hit there by Dave Ella. 1-0 Chicago. And the Leafs got into some penalty trouble. Bob Rouse, Bill Berg in the penalty box. Pat Burns, not at all impressed with the officiating. This is still very early in the game. The Hawks take advantage of the two-man advantage. Chris Chelios lets the shot go. Tony Amonte again, rebound. Second of the game for Chicago, 2-0 Blackhawks. We're just 2 minutes and 7 seconds into the game. But Chicago wasn't finished there. Eric Weinrich sends Joe Murphy on the wing. He rips one past Pavin's short side. 3-0 Hawks after just 7 minutes. The first 10 minutes are crucial. They certainly proved to be. The Leafs come back. Mark Osborne, Peter Zezel, Bill Burke scores. Toronto trails by a goal after one period of play. Early second, Leafs on the power play. Dmitry Mironov scores, beating El Belfour. The Leafs were trailing 3-0. It's all tied up to 3. Late in the second period now, Chicago takes a lead. Tony Amonte puts a rocket over Pavin, make it a hat trick on the night. 4-3 Chicago leading. Ed Belfour, brilliant when he had to be. Diving stop. He made a catch on that pass. Then Tony Amonte, his 4th of the game. The Chicago fans are honoring Amonte. Some Amonte fans in the Chicago Stadium have got the souvenirs for their kids already. Chicago wins game number 3, a crucial victory for the Hawks. 5-4 the final score. Dave Ella, the pair for the Leafs. Berg and Mironov, the others for Toronto. For Chicago, Tony Amonte with 4. Joe Murphy with the single. Incidentally, this Hawks victory snaps a 10-game playoff losing streak for Chicago. With more from the stadium, here's our Rod Smith.
One thing the Hawks needed to get back in this series was more production from the top line. Roenick, Murphy, and Tony Amonte, who was nowhere to be found in games 1 and 2, but he came back with a vengeance. He scored 4. He probably could have had 6.
Big key for our team is trying to get out there and getting the puck in the net. And tonight we were fortunate enough to get a few early and get the ball rolling. So we just gotta get out there, keep on working hard, and getting the puck to the net as much as we can.
We had to win. It was a must-win game for us, and we came out strong. But I think we weren't happy about the way we killed penalties. I don't think, but it's something we got to work on. And you can't give a team like Toronto many chances like that.
You can lose a game in the first 10 minutes in this building just because the momentum is already there for the home club, and you've just got to try and survive the first part of the game and then get back to your work. But being on the home team side, that's what it creates, momentum right off the start.
We knew that they were going to come out flying. We just wanted to weather the storm, but we certainly didn't. Very uncharacteristic. We made a lot of mistakes, and their 3 goals were a direct result.
Well, they came out very hard. We didn't play that well right off the bat. We wanted to have a better start than we did, but give them full credit for coming out and playing hard. And that's what we have to do.
Amonte, I know you know him. Does it surprise you?
Well, I mean, score 4 goals. That's once might happen, once in a career, maybe a few times. But Tony is a type of kid that's going to do a lot of skating, which he did tonight, and shoot the puck, and it just had eyes. It found its way in the net.
By the way, the last time a Hawks player got 4 goals in one playoff game, it was Denny Savard back in 1986 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs wound up winning that series, but the way Game 3 went, this one is far from over. Rod Smith, TSN in Chicago.
Thanks very much, Rod. Shark fans in a frenzy at San Jose facing the Red Wings. The fans got upset early on. Great individual effort here by Sergei Fedorov. Gets it to Dino Ciccarelli, puts it in. The Red Wings are leading 1-0. It's 2-0 Wings when the Sharks get one back. While shorthanded, Tom Peterson steps in, rips it past Chris Osgood. Shark fans are loving it. But watch this play here by Artur Zerbe. Artur Zerbe, backhand blind, gives it to Chris Draper, who tucks it in. 3-1 Detroit in the second. Big gaff by Zerbe. Later in the second, Wings up 3-2. Ray Whitney feeds off Dahlen. Dahlen converts. Great passing by the Sharks. We're all tied at 3. Scotty Bowman then now trying to inspire and motivate his club. Before the end of the second, Zerbe comes up with a very big save. Vyacheslav Kozlov 2-on-1, and Zerbe with an outstanding grab. Game winner comes midway through the third period. Sergei Makarov feathers a pass to Larionov, and Igor Larionov gives the Sharks the lead. And that was the game-winning goal. Can you believe this? Sharks and Red Wings tied 2 games apiece. Peterson, Dahlin, Larionov, and Makarov, the goals for San Jose. For Detroit, Johnson, Cicerelli, and Chris Draper. And the next game, again, in San Jose. And going into game number 4, the Pittsburgh Penguins had scored 5 goals in their series with the Capitals, with 3 goals and an assist. Lemieux had a hand in 4 of those 5 goals. Nice if you've got him in the pool, but the lack of a balanced attack has certainly cost the Pittsburgh Penguins. Washington looking to take a 3-1 lead in their series against the Pittsburgh Penguins on this night. Early on, Peter Taglianetti just nails Randy Burridge. Burridge goes flying. A little later on, Pat Peake with a nice pass to Dmitry Kristich. Give and go, beating Tom Barrasso upstairs, 1-0 Washington. Down at the other end of the ice, Penn's 2-on-1. Kevin Stevens to Rick Tocchet, but Don Beaupre makes a big stop. Pittsburgh continues to press. Watch this great effort here by Martin Straka. First, he strips the Capital defender, brings it over the blue line, lets the shot go, a beauty. Beating Beaupre on the short side. This game's tied at 1. Stayed that way until late in the second period. Then Peter Bondra with the drop pass to Joey Juneau. Back to Bondra, tucks it in. 2-1 for the Caps. And a lot of fans are just thrilled about this go-ahead marker, including this fan right here who's having a good time. Later on, Michael Pavanka gets pushed into the crease, bumps into Barrasso. Joey Juneau wide open net. Barrasso appeals, but Pavanka was pushed into him. Nothing you can do about that. Take advantage of the goal, a 2-goal lead. Dave Poulin added empty netter. And Don Beaupre made 21 saves in the Caps, 4-1 victory. Look at this, the Washington Capitals leading the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-1. Pittsburgh 1 for 18 on the power play in this series. Rough news for them. On now to the Auditorium of Buffalo. Martin Brodeur and the Devils visiting. Score 1-0 New Jersey. Sabres strike. Buffalo 3-on-2. Dale Hartchuk to Wayne Presley, who converts. And the game's tied at 1. Sabres then take the lead. Yuri Himilev with a long slap shot that beats Brodeur. And the Sabres lead by a score of 2-1. The Devils get one back in the second period. John McLean with a nice pass to Claude Lemieux. No chance for Dominic Hasek. It's all tied at 2. Then watch what happens afterwards. Lemieux turns and skates through Hasek's crease. Hasek nails him in the ribs and then jumps him. Goes nuts on Lemieux. Kind of a weird one. Pick it up, 3-2 Buffalo. Jersey 2-man advantage. Scott Stevens to John McLean. He beats Hasek. The game's tied at 3. But the Sabres take the lead for good. Wayne Presley with another slap shot that eludes Martin Brodeur. Sabres take the 4-3 lead. The Devils with a chance to tie it. Stéphane Richer on the breakaway. Dominic Hasek, the save. And the Sabres go on to win a very crucial game. Make the final score on this one 5-3. That all ties the series at 2 apiece. Lemieux, Driver, and McLean, the goals for New Jersey. For Buffalo was...
Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, the Flames put the slow burn to the Canucks in Vancouver, while the Leafs look to rebound against the Hawks in the Windy City. Larry Walker was in a giving mood and the Dodgers took full advantage. The Blue Jays sent their ace to the mound in an attempt to sweep the Twins, and the Admiral lit it up for 71 against the Clippers.
Sports Desk, brought to you by the new Gillette Sensor XL and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get. And by Castrol, the manufacturers of Castrol GTX, the oil engineered for today's harder working engines.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Gino Retta. Great to have you here. Stanley Cup playoffs gather up some steam, and things are getting more and more exciting. If there's one thing that separates the contenders from the pretenders, it's how they overcome injuries to some of their key personnel. And if any team knows injuries, the Calgary Flames certainly do. During the regular season, the Flames set a club record for player games lost due to injury. As they went into Game 4 of their series with the Canucks, the Flames were without Joey Nieuwendyk and Joel Otto, 2 of the team leaders. But when it comes to team leaders, the Flames seem to have plenty of them to spare. So the C on this night would be donning the jersey of Theoren Fleury. And the Canucks looking for some leadership for Pavel Bure. Just 1 goal in the last 10 playoff games by Vancouver. Flames get a chance early on. Gary Robertson alone, and Kurt McLean poke-checks the puck away nicely. But the Flames do get on the board first. Ronnie Stern breaks in on McLean, scores, and makes it 1-0 Calgary. Canucks with a chance a little later on. Al MacInnis falls. That allows Murray Craven to break it alone, and Mike Vernon turns him away with an outstanding pad save. Canucks even it up on the power play. Vernon will stop Pavel Bure, but Martin Jalina is there for the rebound. Game tied at 1 after 1. Second period action now. The Canucks take the lead. Trevor Linden with a big slap shot that beats Vernon, and the Canucks on top by a score of 2-1. Canucks held the lead until early in the third period. Off the face-off, Al MacInnis lets the shot go. Wes Walz is there for the rebound. That ties the game at 2. 9 minutes later now, Robert Reichel spots Theo Fleury in front. Bang, bang, just like that, the Flames take a 3-2 lead. Canucks continue to press. Later on, Trevor Linden moves in. His backhand goes off the post and under Mike Vernon. Fortunate break for the Flames. Then late in the game, the Canucks continue to press. Pavel Bure with a chance turned away. Adams with a chance turned away. Jalina with a chance turned away. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Flames all there. And Pat Quinn says, what have we got to do to get one in? They couldn't get another one in on this night, so the final Calgary over Vancouver 3-2. Mike Vernon made 42 stops, many of them of the excellent caliber. Flames now lead the series 3-1. Our David Pratt was in Vancouver and has this report.
More and more, this series is starting to look and feel like an old Hollywood movie with Theoren Fleury in the starring role. Once again, it was Fleury who delivered a third-period goal to win it for the Flames.
Thought, geez, here's a chance, and you know, I just kind of skated towards the net, and Robert threw a great pass, and you know, I one-timed it in the far corner. So, you know, I'm very fortunate, you know, to have scored a couple of big goals for the team lately, and you know, it's gone a long ways in helping us win.
We were able to work through it and score a couple in the third period. It's been a great series, and we're just hoping that we can show something for our fans on Tuesday night and take the series.
We had a respectable first period, played kind of a little bit of a rope-a-dope second period, and Mike was excellent, and then he gave us a chance to go into the third period just down 1, and we had a good third period. We played really smart third period, just the way we wanted to play the whole game. Couldn't do it, but we did it in the third period when it counted.
We got some great response from guys like Wes Walz, Paul Cruz, guys that you know, that aren't they don't get the headlines enough and things like that, and guys like that did a great job for us, and that was the key tonight.
For the most part, we played a good hockey game. I know now our backs are to the wall. We've got to get the job done, and we have to do it with the same sort of effort we got tonight, only better results.
We just have to keep a positive attitude. I mean, we can't let ourselves get down. We've been in this situation before in the past, and we've come back from it. So why not in this series?
As so far as the injuries are concerned, still no word on when Otto and Nieuwendyk are expected to get back into the Calgary lineup. But heading back home up 3-1, the Flames might not need them. David Pratt, TSN, Vancouver.
Probably the toughest series of the first round continued at Chicago Stadium on Sunday. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Chicago Blackhawks have been going toe-to-toe since Game 2 of their matchup. But with the Leafs up 2-1 and with the possibility that Game 4 might be the final hockey game ever played at the old building, the Hawks came out pumped, and their fans were certainly pumped. All they do was win this game, and they definitely guaranteed themselves at least one more game at the old building, and they get the cheering going early on. Tony Amonte, Gary Suter work to give and go. Suter finishes, and it's 1-0 Chicago. Later in the first, Hawks with the man advantage. Puck is worked back to Suter at the point. Suter lets a shot go through the big screen. Pavin, no shot, never even saw it. Second of the game for Suter, 2-0 Chicago. Pat Burns and the Leafs find them behind early, the second consecutive night. Leafs get one back before the end of the first. On the power play, Jamie McCown shot goes right to Doug Gilmour. Tough angle, but Gilmour converts. A great play by Dougie Gilmour, beating Belfour, cuts the lead to 2-1. Stayed that way until the 15-minute mark of the second period. Leafs on another power play. Gilmour, great pass here to Dave Andreychuk, who puts it in off Belfour, and that ties the game at 2. Second consecutive night. The Leafs come back from a deficit to tie the game. Then they go ahead. Gilmour spots Rob Pearson. Pearson beats Belfour. Leafs up by a score of 3-2. 10 minutes later, Hawks on the power play now. Gary Suter again. Gary Suter looks to and does indeed complete the hat trick. That ties the game at 3. Now we go to overtime. Just 1:23 in. Todd Gill, big mistake in his own zone. Joe Murphy, Tony Amante. Amante, Jeremy Roenick scores, and that's it. The Hawks pull it out in overtime. Pat Burns and the Leafs leave Chicago Stadium a little disappointed. It's over. Chicago wins it by a score of 4-3 to even the series at 2 games apiece. Roenick, a goal, 3 assists. Doug Gilmour, a goal, 2 assists. Ed Belfour, 33 saves. With more, here's Rod Smith.
Anyone who predicted a long and tough series appears to be bang on. If you throw away game number 1, which the Leafs won easily, these two teams are inseparable. 3 one-goal games, 2 of them decided in overtime, with the home team winning all 4. In fact, the way things are going, home ice is more important than in any other series.
Well, they played well. Give them credit. Now it's back home, and it's a different series now. It's all tied up, and it's best out of 3. Anything can happen now.
Well, I think we played a good game. You know, it was 2-0 for them in the first, and then we came back and you know, we even took the lead 3-2, and then we took a penalty and you know, a long shot, and you know, Felix didn't see it. You know, those are the breaks you know, we don't get sometimes, and you know, we can't you know, just look at it, and we just have to learn from it, and like I said, just work harder.
I thought we played a pretty good game. It's just that when their best line was on the ice. Once again, you know, it made some things happen, and you know, they got a couple lucky ones that were deflections on the power play. So, you know, we're going back with a positive attitude. It's 2-2, still you know, best 2 out of 3, and we've got the home ice advantage now. So, you know, it's going to take a little longer than we hoped.
Face the Blackhawks all year is even, and this is the team that, you know, we've I guess same kind of style, everything, and it was a hard-fought game again tonight.
You know, I just kept working hard, and I kept feeding the puck to whoever was on the ice with me, and tried to create other things that you know, that maybe weren't going for me the other way.
You know, it was a must-win. Obviously, we don't want to get down 3-1, but you know, we're even now. We're going back to Toronto, and you know, if we're to win this series, we have to win 1 there, obviously. So you know, we just got to get ready for the next game.
It didn't take long for the souvenir programs to sell out here at Chicago Stadium. Fans obviously aware that this could have been the final hockey game played here, but the Hawks refused to let this old barn die. They have guaranteed themselves at least 1 more game, Game 6 against the Leafs on Thursday night. Rod Smith, TSN in Chicago.
What do you get when you stock a team with talented finesse players? Well, you usually get a team that is totally unsuited for playoff hockey. Over the past year, the St. Louis Blues added players with a lot of finesse. Sunday, the team was about to finesse its way out of the playoffs as they faced the Dallas Stars in Game 4 of the series. Mike Modano, the star of this game. Early in the first, Kevin Miller with the hip check on Modano. Modano doesn't like it and nearly takes off Miller's head. Everyone's screaming for a major. Ron Caron says 4 or maybe 5, but the ref says 2. On the power play, Phil Housley from the point shoots. Wakalak got a piece of it, but Darcy Wakalak could not stop it. 1-0 for the Blues. To the second period now. Dave Gagne up and over Tom Tilley. He's okay, though. A little later on, Modano with a great effort. The shot is stopped. Rounds the net, waits for the rebound. The rebound comes out to Modano, and he converts. Game's tied at 1. Dallas fans enjoying what they are seeing. On now to the third period we go. St. Louis pressing. Kevin Miller with a great chance. Then Brendan Shanahan with an opportunity. Just misses. Ron Caron upstairs, undressing himself in frustration, as a matter of fact. Later in the game, Stars with the man advantage. Russ Cornell, side of the net. 2. Mike Modano, other side of the net. Scores from the faceoff circle. Dallas goes up by a score of 2-1, and Dallas goes on to sweep the St. Louis Blues in the 1993-94 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Final score in this one, 2-1. Final score in the series, Stars win it 4 straight. Darcy Wakalak, surprise starter for the Stars in this series, won all 4 games in the series, making 25 stops in game number 4, but the hero in game 4, Mike Modano.
Well, it feels great. A lot of guys excited about it. You know, we felt good coming into it, getting a 2-0 lead, and I knew if we backed up what we said, you know, we have a good, great time doing it.
A lot of teams are going to step up and notice that we're a team that a lot of people overlooked as far as the playoffs go. And you know, like I said, we really haven't won anything yet. You know, it's just one little step that we've taken.
That final game always seems to be the most difficult, and I don't think today's game, it fit right into that description. It was decided not until the buzzer went at the end.
So the Stars sweep the Blues elsewhere. The New York Islanders trying to avoid being swept by the Rangers. Ronnie Hextall's been frustrated in this series. Case in point, watch as Hextall gets nailed by Glenn Anderson. Hextall almost chops Anderson, but thinks better of it. A little later on, Steve Thomas with a big opportunity and gives the Islanders the first lead in the series, defeating Mike Richter on that 1-0 New York. Then they go up by 2 or 3 minutes later. Dan Plante in his first game of the series bangs in loose puck. It's 2-0 Islanders. And the Long Island fans saying, we believe. They believe, but the Rangers are better. Hextall makes the initial stop, but Alexei Kovalev there for the rebound. 2-1 Islanders after 1. Early second period, Rangers tying up. Brian Leach over to Sergei Zubov. Zubov, face-off circle, scores upstairs. A beautiful blast. 2-2 tie. Rangers taking complete control now. Mark Messier, great effort here as he just steals the puck from Vladimir Malakhov, goes in, scores the third unanswered marker by the Rangers. They trail 2-0. They now lead 3-2. Dan Plante looking for his second of the afternoon, blasts it high, but Mike Richter throws out the glove and makes a save. Rangers up 3-2 after 2. Rangers get the brooms out in the third. Dennis Vasky gives it away deep in his own zone. Puck comes to Steve Larmer. Steve Larmer cashes in. 4-2 Rangers. They can go on to celebrate the 4-game sweep of the Islanders. They would add another, go on to win this one by a score of 5-2, win the series 4 straight. And over the 4-game series, the Rangers outscored the Islanders 22-3.
The idea is just to win 4 games. We were able to do it a little quicker in this series, but it didn't really matter. It's not more, it's not more.
Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, goaltending again takes the spotlight in the Bruins-Canadiens series. Can the Capitals come up with one more big game against the Pens? Florida police officially charged 2 Blue Jay pitchers. Things are all quiet on the Western Front for Vancouver in the NBA. And it's time again for the TSN Plays of the Week.
Sports Desk brought to you by STP Engine Treatment for long-lasting protection against engine wear, startup after startup, and better gas mileage too.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Brendan Connor. Welcome to the show. Half hour seems like a pretty good chunk of time sometimes, but you know it's not much when we're trying to cram in all the action from a hectic Monday in sports. We're also going to look ahead to the possible last stand by the Vancouver Canucks. Well, let's get started with the action from a classic playoff game. You know, that's what we all look forward to at this time of year. Clean, exciting hockey, and that's certainly what we got at the Boston Garden in Game 5 of the Bruins-Canadiens series. End-to-end action and a goaltending duel featuring Patrick Roy and John Casey that had the fans at that old building just buzzing. Interesting lineup changes off the top. Brian Bellows benched for Montreal. Donald Brashear and Brian Savage in the lineup from Fredericton. Patrick Roy continuing to play wonderful hockey for the Habs. Bruins pressing here. Stumple in close. Great save. Patrick Roy still in the first. Daniel Marois in close on the spin fire. And Patrick Roy's got the save there and keeps the rebound out. Bruins outshot the Habs 20-5 in the first period. Second period, John Casey shows his stuff. Big stop there on DiPietro, and Gilbert Dion rolls the rebound wide. Then it's Casey again. Vincent Damphousse moving in, goes to the backhand. Casey goes with him and steers it away. Later in the second, Brian Smolinski moves in alone. He's bothered by the defenseman, but he gets a shot away, but Patrick Roy coolly turns it away. 0-0 after 2. Bruins break the scoreless tie 2 minutes into the third. Roy stops a shot from Glenn Murray, but Stumple jumps on the rebound. 33rd shot of the game for the Bruins. They finally score 1-0 Boston. They continue to press. Later in the third, Roy will stop the shot from Adam Oates, and then he stops the rebound as well. Huge save by Patrick Roy. That would loom largely because 5 minutes later, John LeClaire behind the net tries the wraparound, and the puck will dance in off Glenn Wesley's skate and get behind Casey. Game tied, 1-1. So they went to overtime. Patrick Roy continues to shine there. Adam Oates, deflection, stopped by Roy. He gets it back. Another big save by Patrick Roy. And just over 2 minutes left in overtime. Casey stops the point shot. Kirk Muller with the rebound, and the backhander is in. And the Habs with the overtime magic once again. They win it by a score of 2-1, and they lead the series now, 3-2. Montreal over Boston 2-1 in a gem of a game. John LeClaire with his first, and Kirk Muller with his 5th of this series. Stumple had the Boston goal. Patrick Roy, 60 saves. The Habs were outshot 61-36, 60 saves. Needless to say, that was the story of the game, and here's our own Michael Whalen.
Well, the Canadiens keep their unbelievable streak of overtime victories intact. This was number 11, and tonight it was Kirk Muller, number 11, who did it for the Habs.
It's nice to score in overtime and win it because we had to get tonight's win, but you know, that's the bottom line.
I was trying to focus on every shot and stay in the game, not think about the number of shots or being tired and all that. I just wanted to make sure that my concentration was at a really high level.
A couple of days I feel bad. But right now I feel great. That's a big win for us. And I would like to give Patrick credit for that win.
Our 3 kids were outstanding. Brashear, Savage, and as you mentioned, Turner Stevenson, who I believe got 2 assists. We needed to put some fresh blood. We needed people to give us a total commitment tonight, and we got a total commitment. First period, Patrick was outstanding, as Patrick is always, and certainly at the end when they had 2 great quality chances. But let's not get misled by the shots. We had some great chances too, and Casey played a heck of a game.
It's very frustrating, but we stuck to our game plan. We went to the net, we shot the puck, and you know, it's got to go in sooner or later. And hey, we got 2 games. I mean, we're just going to go out and win 2 games and not worry about it. It's going to go in. We know it's going to go in. I mean, we just keep shooting, get our opportunities. I mean, we are getting some great opportunities. We just got to bear down a little more and bury it.
The Canadiens were outshot 61-36 in this game. That's a situation they're going to have to rectify for Game 6. St. Patrick is capable of only so many miracles. Michael Whalen, TSN in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, for a team that averaged over 4 goals a game in the regular season, the Pittsburgh Penguins have really come up short in this series with the Washington Capitals so far. Tough defense by the Caps and sharp net minding had given them a 3-1 series lead, and unless some of those big guns on the Penguins started booming, the Penguins season would be over. Let's check out the action from this one. Interesting move by Schoenfeld. Byron Defoe gets the start. He lost the only game he started, Game 2. Pens get on the board first. Mario with a big blast. Defoe's got that, but can't handle the rebound, and Sean McEachern tucks it under him. So 1-0 Pittsburgh early on. In the second, Sylvain Cote sends Ridley in 2-on-1. He decides to shoot, beats Barrasso through the legs, and we're tied up at 1. Minutes later, Joe Juneau from the corner, blind pass, gobbled up here by Kevin Hatcher. Good move to the backhand, and upstairs he goes, and the Caps have the lead. Still in the second, Steve Konowalchuk has a chance to make it 3-1, but he can't corral the bouncing puck. It is corralled by Barrasso. Big save there. Still 2-1 Washington. Late in the second, Kevin Stevens finally gets a goal. A great flick shot right there. Defoe was partially screened, but it ties it at 2 going into the third. In the third, the Caps give it away here. Taglianetti quickly on the transition gives it to Jagger. And check out this shot. Zing! In over the shoulder of Byron Defoe. First goal for Jagger in this series. So Stevens and Jagger get it going. 3-2 Pens, but it was still Barrasso who made the huge save off Bondra late in the game to solidify the victory for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're still alive. 3-2 the final score there, and 3-2 the series lead for the Capitals. McEachern, Stevens, and Jagger for Pittsburgh. Mike Ridley and Kevin Hatcher replying for Washington. Barrasso very solid, 26 saves, and the Penguins are still alive. Okay, on to the Sabres and the Devils. New Jersey, the site of this game. John Muckler and the Sabres needing to at least take 1 game in the Meadowlands. And the Sabres take the early lead. Dale Howardchuk, watch, his pass will go off the defenseman Ken Danico and off Brodeur, and is lying right there. And Yuri Himalev just puts it in the yawning cage. 1-0 Buffalo. Devils come right back, though. Great pass here from Claude Lemieux in the corner, who had a great game. Well, he finds John McLean out front. McLean just puts the stick out, and it's in. No chance for Hasek. Game tied at 1. Alexander McGillney recharging the turbocharger right there. He's got the good jets, and watch, he uses them on this play as he gobbles up a puck and skates in and goes to the backhand. Not much chance there for Brodeur. Buffalo leads at 3-1. On the goal by McGillney, and this guy, oh, charming. Yeah, nice, like the jewelry. But the Devils cut the lead to 3-2. Stefan Richer will go in and rip one right past Dominic Hasek. Goes off his shoulder, and Stefan Richer still has that bullet of a drive. It's all tied at 3, and the Devils win it on a great goal. Look at the undressing by Claude Lemieux of Richard Smellick, and then he puts a great move on Hasek as well. Devils lead at 4-3. And things got a little ugly over by the Buffalo bench later. Some fans threw some stuff, and so some of the Buffalo coaches and players started throwing some punches. It was eventually broken up, but not much security on that side of the rink at the Meadowlands. And they had to be happy, though, those fans, as they went home with a 5-3.
Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, the Canucks are on the hot seat as they face a must-win game at the Saddledome. It's deja vu at the Gardens as Belfour and Potvin put on a show. Vancouver waits for the stamp of approval from the NBA. Evander Holyfield calls it quits because of a heart ailment. And the Expos make swift work of the Giants.
Sports Desk brought to you by the new Gillette Sensor XL and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get. And by Olympic. Choose from Olympic's full line of products that protect and beautify exterior wood.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Michael Landsberg. Tons to cover over the next half hour. Let's jump right on it with 3 pivotal playoff games. Starting in Calgary, where the Flames, leading 3-1, were in a position to put away the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks knew full well what they had to do to stay alive. They knew what and they knew who. The who being Pavel Bure. He simply had to contribute for the Canucks to keep their playoff hopes alive, and he, in fact, did early on. Greg Adams with a steal. He fields Bure, and watch the smile on the face of the Russian Rocket. Boy, is he ever letting off steam. He had struggled so badly, and he was carrying so much weight, it's 1-0. But on the 3-on-1, the Flames catch a break. Roberts' pass goes right to Titov off the skate of a defender. 1-1 hockey game. Later on in the first, the Flames are shorthanded. Kelly Kissio in all alone, but McLean stones him, closing the pads. Not to be outdone. Watch Mike Vernon right here. The save on Martin Jelena. Outstanding the way he did the splits. And Pat Quinn wondering at this point which goaltender will break first. Late in the third, Mike Sullivan with a chance. Sullivan moves around the defender. Goes backhand, but it just goes wide. And Dave King and the Flames and the Canucks are going into overtime. In overtime, Dahl has it get by him. It goes to Jeff Courtnall. Courtnall over the blue line, and he rifles a shot. Is that ever reminiscent of a shot by Wayne Gretzky a few years ago? Courtnall and the Vancouver Canucks can celebrate. What a shot that was, and what an important one. The Canucks are still alive. They beat the Calgary Flames by a score of 2-1. Bure opened the scoring. Courtnall finished the scoring. It was his third of the playoffs. None more important than that. Titov with his second. McLean made 21 saves. Vernon also sharp in the nets. Flames, by the way, have not won a playoff series since 1989. They were hoping to avert that tonight, or they're hoping to end that streak tonight, but they did not. Also on Joel Otto, an MRI showed strained left knee ligaments. He is day-to-day. Let's get more on the Canucks victory over the Flames from Lisa Bowes in Calgary.
And so the Canucks refused to die. Jeff Courtnall extending the series. And interestingly enough, his overtime winner was scored on his first shot of the hockey game.
It's been tough to get loose. Their defense have played so well that you don't get much room to skate out there. They're always seem to have 3 guys back, so just to get loose and get my shot away again felt good, and I think maybe give me a little confidence here down the stretch.
You know, we're down 3-1. We can't afford to really open it up. We played tight checking the whole game as they did, and it's paid off in the end for us.
You know, whether you want to call it mental lapses or bouncing pucks, we've been a little unlucky. Tonight we got lucky. Flipper up there, and that one bounced our way, and then Courts makes a great shot to finish it off. Playoffs is all that. Great goaltending, a little luck, and a lot of hard work.
We won a game. It was a nice way to win, but the fact still remains we're down a game in the series, and we still got to win a couple more.
They still have to win 4 anyways. They haven't got their 4th one, and neither do we. So we got a lot of hockey left.
We just got real cautious, and started to try to play safe versus anything else. So we ended up just chipping the puck out, and they would go back and get it, come in for a shoot-in, we'd get it and chip it out, and we didn't put a couple of passes together to get some puck control. We seemed to lack puck control in the last 8 or 10 minutes of that third period, and that was the difference in terms of us not getting very many chances.
We've got 2 more cracks at it. Let's, we wanted it tonight, but it just wasn't there for us.
The Flames clearly deflated after squandering this opportunity to wrap the series up in 5. They must now go back to the West Coast, where the Canucks are hoping to redeem themselves. They lost games 3 and 4 at home, but will try to force Game 7 in this heated Western Conference quarterfinal. Lisa Bowes, TSN, Calgary.
Boy, is Dave King ever right. When you get cautious, you get killed in overtime. In the Toronto-Chicago series, the Leafs opened with an easy win over the Hawks, and since then, every inch of ice has been fought for. 3 straight one-goal games, and it was all tied at 2 as the series moved to an electric Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Fireworks going off before the game, and they were hoping to have some fireworks during the game. Some big banging in this one. Gary Suter with a shot on Bill Berg. I'll tell you, every time a guy went near the boards, he got hit. This was terrific playoff hockey. Bill Berg with a chance in front of the net, but there is Ed Belfour setting the tone for the game. him. You knew he was sharp. And then at the other end, it's Belfour once again on Mike Gartner. Gartner just can't beat him. Some questionable hits in this one. Dirk Graham perhaps using the knee a little too often. This one on Dmitry Mironov. Even the two team stars were battling. Gilmore and Roenick jawing at each other, hitting each other every chance they could get. That was super entertaining to watch. Great goaltending continues. Joe Murphy with a shot right there. But watch Felix Potvin reach back. It's behind him. And he grabs it before it goes in the net. Scary moment for the Maple Leafs. Gary Suter with a shot to the head of Gilmore. It wasn't that hurt him. He went down backwards, folding up along the boards. His leg kind of got trapped underneath him. His knee should be okay. Tough game, just ask Peter Zezel. He shows it. So Gilmore goes back on the ice, tries it for one shift, then can't go. So they put Eastwood on the power play. Andrechuk to Eastwood. And Eastwood subbing for Doug Gilmore. Burns said there was no one else to put in. Gilmore forced to leave the game, but they didn't need him the rest of the way because Felix Potvin held him off the score sheet for his second shutout of the playoffs. The first time since 1963 that a Maple Leaf goaltender has had two shutouts in a playoff series. It was Johnny Bauer back in '63 over the Canadiens. Final score, Toronto 1 and Chicago 0. Eastwood with the only goal of the game. Potvin's shutout is the third of his career. He made just 17 saves, 17 shots on goal against the Maple Leaf team, the fewest of any Maple Leaf team in history. That is great defense by the Maple Leafs. Let's get more, and you also get an update on Doug Gilmore's situation from Rod Smith in Toronto.
Not a carbon copy of Game 2, but very close. Same final score. This time the Leafs didn't need overtime to win it. They struggled in Chicago defensively, but they were very sound on this night. Excellent blue line. Great goaltending by Felix Potvin, even though he wasn't challenged that often. And the big story, the work by the checking line led by Peter Zezel, which neutralized, once again, the big Hawk line led by Jeremy Roenick.
You know, we're not going to outscore that line, but in getting a big goal or stopping a big goal is certainly a big something for our line. We've certainly defended against one of the best lines in the league with Amante and Murphy and Roenick, and we're pretty happy with what we accomplished tonight.
We got to give credit to Zez. Zez's line really stepped up to the plate tonight and took care of that and played that very well, and our defense played much better.
Zez's line did a hell of a job, as well as his two defensemen. You know, we had some chances, and you're not going to get many when you're on the road like that.
Well, they got a great defensive team, and you know, they seem to really be focusing on the little things like holding up and getting in our way, and make sure they have three guys back on all the rushes. So it's you know, they did a good job.
We played a really good game tonight. I think we really bounced back, and we were ready for that game, and I didn't have to face that many shots.
As the only guy that beat Belfour tonight, how tough was he?
He was unbelievable, as you guys can imagine. You saw him. He made big save after big save, and he's been doing it all series. No surprise he's doing it again tonight, and it's going to be tough again in Game 6.
We're not down in here at all. You know, we have to go back in our own building and play the same type of game we did, you know, winning 2 games back there and play that same type of game. And, you know, that's what the guys are going to do. They're going to come out strong and play, you know, hard in front of me, and you know, I'm going to try and play in the same type of game I played tonight.
But the news wasn't all good for Toronto. A couple of injuries to report. Star Doug Gilmore went down in the third period with what they're calling a bruised ankle. He'll have that re-examined before Game 6. Defenseman Dmitry Mironov, who suffered a Charlie horse when hit by Dirk Graham, is listed as day-to-day. Rod Smith, TSN, in Toronto.
We're on our way to San Jose, where the Sharks and the Wings are going at it once again. The best opening to a game, and the San Jose fans hope that it'll be a great close as well. Early on, Todd Ellick beats Chris Osgood through the pads. Osgood let in 2 bad goals. He's replaced by Bob Essenza. Goaltending still plaguing the Detroit Red Wings. This series was tied at 2. Artur Zerbe kept busy by Dino Ciccarelli. He was in his face and on his face for most of the day. Paul Coffey moves in, loses the puck. Urbe stopped all of the Wings early on, but he couldn't stop Jason Moore, his teammate. Scores on his own net. Wings trail it by 1. Second period, score tied at 2. Sergei Makarov, watch the move, but what's Essenza doing down on the ice? On his knees. Lots of room up top. Makarov says, thanks very much, or the Russian equivalent, 3-2 for the Sharks. Now to the third, Sharks leading at 5-3. Lidstrom with a shot off the skate of Norton, I believe, and the Detroit Red Wings trail up by 1. But then a 3-on-1, and Baker with the shot, and Airy there to sweep in the rebound. Don't blame Essenza for that one. That was weak defense. Detroit, a shambles right now defensively, and in goal, 6-4 San Jose. They held on for the victory. Shepard with a pair, Lidstrom with a pair as well for San Jose.
For more real life, real drama, coming up on Real TV, TSN.
Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, they're having a ball on the West Coast because Vancouver is officially into the NBA. In hockey, Hasek, Brodeur, an epic battle. The Boston Bruins continue to pressure Patrick Roy, while the Canucks and the Flames get ready for Game 7 in Vancouver. And searching for perfection in Minnesota. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor. We have lots of Stanley Cup hockey playoff action to catch up on, with 3 pivotal games and one that went an awfully long time. No hockey in Vancouver Wednesday, but certainly some big news for sports fans, and it came from the world of basketball. Now, Vancouver is in the NBA's second Canadian franchise, officially a go, and hoop fans on the Canadian West Coast got the good news on Wednesday. The announcement from the NBA Expansion Committee delivering the news from its New York offices on Wednesday, and TSN's Gord Miller was there.
It was a slam dunk in NBA terms. Arthur Griffiths and his group receiving unanimous approval from the NBA Board of Governors here in New York to become the NBA's 29th franchise, a team that will begin play in the fall of 1995.
It's a great day for sport in Vancouver, but also in Western Canada, as now there is 2 teams to divide the country of Canada and at the same time compete heavily on the court.
The extraordinary benefit to be gotten here by the NBA is to have a city like Vancouver contributing with Toronto to adding so much more to the NBA with the enthusiasm of our Canadian fans.
There is yet a hurdle that has to be cleared, and that comes in the middle of May. That's when Arthur Griffiths will attempt to buy out the minority shareholders in the Vancouver Canucks and the Northwest Sports Group. That's the group that's building the new arena. Once Griffiths gets that done and has complete control of the basketball team, the Canucks, and the arena, he's in business in the NBA.
The vote still has to take place, but it's a timing process for the securities issues. But there's enough support for that to take place. There is one other thing that's been overlooked in that, and that is that we needed the support of the Board of Governors of the NBA. So I wouldn't have said it was a done deal until that happened this morning.
We don't expect to have any problems with Vancouver meeting them, and I know that the Vancouver people feel very confident that there shouldn't be a problem.
The new team will not be named the Mounties. There were trademark problems with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So a name search is now underway, and Griffiths hope to have people in place by this summer. As well, there's alignment problems for the NBA. The new Toronto team in 1995 will play in the Eastern Conference, division yet to be determined. Vancouver will go in the Western Conference, but will not play in the Pacific Division. Instead, the Vancouver franchise will play in the Midwest.
The way our schedule is done, really what's key is what conference you're in. Because basically you play everybody in your conference, give or take the same number of times, and without regard particularly to which division. Since that's where the opening exists, it seemed the easiest thing to do for the time being.
When would you like to have people in place? When do you want to have a basketball person in place? Because really you don't have a lot of time. When you look at it, you got, what, 18 months?
Well, I think that it's somewhere between middle to the end of the summer at the latest to put the chief basketball individual president or general manager in place at that point. So the sooner the better, and really that's the next task ahead of the ownership group, is to select that and to work towards a resolution of the name.
All right, on to hockey in just a moment. First of all, we'll let you know that we'll have more reaction on this story and more information on the Vancouver basketball story as we go to the streets of Vancouver for some reaction. That'll come up later on this edition of TSN Sports Desk. Okay, let's go to hockey now, and Game 6 of the Boston-Montreal series. The frustrated Boston Bruins, of course, after firing 61 shots at Patrick Roy the other night, still came out losers, and Wednesday Boston had to face the guy they're calling St. Patrick again, and they also faced elimination at the Montreal Forum, and there is number 33. But early on, he can thank his defenseman, Patrick Roy, out of position, and check out the save here by Eric Desjardins off the shaft of his stick. Great save there. Bruins get on the board first. Adam Oates spots Ryan Smolinski, not Cam Neely. It's usually Cam Neely he finds, but the one-timer by Smolinski gives the Bruins a 1-0 lead. John Casey's solid in goal and makes a good save there off Desjardins. The Bruins get another one. The Ray Bourque shot will be stopped, but it'll trickle to Steve Hines, and he beats Patrick Roy, so it's 2-0 Boston. And the Boston fans made the trip to Montreal happy about that. Habs get one back, though. John Leclerc behind the net does a good job of shaking off a check and rolls it around and sweeps it under Casey, so 2-1 Bruins. Kirk Muller of the Habs playing with cracked ribs. It's injured again on this play. He's forced to leave. But he returns to the game, and in the third period off the face-off, bounces off Ray Bork's skate, and who's there to pounce on it? Yeah, number 11, Kirk Muller. Game tied at 2. Bruins again regain the lead. Al Iafrate in good position to zing one past Patrick Waugh through a bit of a crowd. Bruins led 3-2. Some big hits in this game. Watch Benoit Brunet get knocked down right here by Brent Hughes. Canadiens got a great chance late in the third. Muller leads the 2-on-1. His pass over to Turner Stevenson, though, too high, and it jumps over his stick. The Habs do not get another one, and the Bruins bench celebrates. There will be a game number 7, and Patrick Waugh knows that'll be in Beantown on Friday. Here's the final score, 3-2 for the Bruins. A big win at the Forum. Smolinski, Hines, and Iafrate with the goals. John LeClaire and Kirk Muller with his 6th of the series for Montreal. John Casey, 20 saves. Patrick Waugh, 22 saves. And the Habs, if they lose in Game 7, would be eliminated for the first time in the first round since 1981. Montreal fans would not want that to happen. Here's TSN's Michael Whalen with a post-game report.
The Bruins stayed faithful to their tactic of driving to the net and creating traffic in front of Patrick Waugh, and it finally paid off as they won one here at the Montreal Forum, staving off elimination.
It seemed like we played a little better when it was 2-2 than when it was 2-0. I think when it was 2-0, we were playing kind of a little edgy, and then when it got 2-2, I think we realized, this is the season right here. We have to, get something going, and I just told myself, I got to skate with the puck. I got to skate, because you can't be worried about making a mistake. You have to try and make the difference, and if the mistake comes from that, it's a lot easier to take.
After tonight, I believe there's something missing. I hate to make a comparison with the past, but last year there's no way we would lose a Game 6 after winning the Game 5 at the game, the last game of the series. We would have won it, and seems like this year I don't know if we're not as hungry, or we don't want to pay the price as much as we did last year, or it's all that. And seems like right now I guess we got no choice now. We're going back in Boston, and we're going to have to play a big game.
He's a goalie just like any other in the league. Sometimes a little harder than some, but we said like last game, if we just keep shooting the puck and going there and causing some traffic, the puck's going to go in for us.
I think the whole series has had that flavor to it. Both teams have battled, worked along the boards and gone to the net real hard. And I don't think you're seeing anything different in Game 7.
Well, we didn't score goals. We had opportunities. I was just mentioning a player like Turner Stevenson had 3 scoring chances. Our better players have to put the puck in the net. It's not a criticism, it's just a fact.
And so it all comes down to one final game at the Garden on Friday night. The Bruins seem very confident as they head there, especially in view of the fact that the Canadiens' defense is really hurting. Matthew Schneider is still out with a knee injury, and it's obvious that Eric Desjardins and Lyle Odeline are playing hurt. Michael Whalen, TSN in Montreal.
So the Habs lose. That was the only Canadian team in action on Wednesday. As for elsewhere, now you know that NHLers dial their games up a notch in the playoffs. They go to a reserve tank, to overdrive, if you will, and it makes for fabulous hockey. Very little fighting, great goaltending, and just tough, intense hockey at both ends. And goals can be hard to come by sometimes. Case in point, the Sabres-Devils series. Dominic Hasek and Martin Brodeur both incredibly stingy in net, but never more so than Game 6 in Buffalo Wednesday night. Let's take a look at the highlights of this one from the odd as John Muckler trying to pump up the crowd during the anthem. He knows that it's do or die. His squad with a great chance early. Yuri Himalev with a shot. Martin Brodeur, huge glove save right there. One of those hockey card saves we talk about. Sabres went in some hard luck in the second period. Dale Hawerchuk stopped. Wayne Presley going to the net. Does this go in off his skate inadvertently or deliberately?
You don't know.
Well, upstairs, they seem to think he kicked it in, so referee Terry Gregson waves this one off. The third Sabre goal of the game to be disallowed. John Muckler livid about that. Third period, Hasek comes up with a save of the game. Off Stéphane Richer. What a save. Did he ever get over there quickly? And yes, the Dominator is in fine form. 0-0, and they go to overtime. After a boring first overtime period, some excitement in extra overtime period. Dale Hawerchuk rattles one off the post right there along the goal line. At the other end, Hawerchuk will redirect a pass across and almost put it in his own net. This game stayed scoreless and went to triple overtime. Yuri Himalev, point blank. Brodeur turns him away. Don't forget, we're in the third overtime here. At the other end, late in the third OT, Niedermeyer in there, point blank, and Hasek guesses right. So this goes to a 4th overtime period, and early in that, here's how it sounded.
Backhand by Hammond. He scores! Dave Hammond! Dave Hammond is mobbed by his teammates. Dave Hammond finally put away the backhand, and this series is going back to where Jimmy Hoffa is.
Rick Jeanneret of Sabres Radio with a wonderful call of amazing finish to an amazing game. 4 overtime periods. And Dave Hannon ends it for 2 tired hockey teams. 70 shots on goal by the Devils, so 70 saves by Dominik Hasek. 50 shots on goal for the Sabres. 6th longest game in history, the longest scoreless game for a while there since 1936, the Red Wings and the Montreal Maroons. And this one is, as Jeanneret put it, going back to New Jersey for game number 7. Okay, there was another game on Wednesday as well. Let's go on to the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And the Caps fans ready for this one. They want to see it end in this game. Washington comes out on fire. Joe Juneau with a great effort, makes the move on Barrasso and slides it in. A beauty, 1-0 Caps. Vintage Mario Lemieux here. Watch him circle his way to the slot and tee it up. And Don Beaupre with a great glove save. Number 66 can hardly believe it. Still in the first, 2-0 Caps. They had another on the power play. John Slaney, the trigger man there, 3-0 Washington. Ed Johnson behind the Pens bench praying for a miracle at this point. And with the score 3-1, he gets a miracle of sorts as Kevin Hatcher high sticks Jaromir Jagr, a 5-minute major, and a game. Hatcher's gone. And with the Pens on the power play, Lemieux puts it in front. Rick Tocchet on the doorstep, flips it past Beaupre. Caps lead cut to 3-2. But the Caps open up a 2-goal lead. Late in the second, Calle Johansson drops it to Slaney. He's stopped, but Johansson going to the net. Picks up the rebound and jams it home, 4-2 Washington. And the Caps fans sensing that this might be the end for the Penguins, playing some taps there. Washington doesn't stop there. Pavanka on the 2-on-1 with Poulin. Perfect pass across. Poulin reconverts, and the Capitals control, leading 5-2. Jim Schoenfeld celebrating behind that bench. And all Mario Lemieux and the Pens can do is shake hands, and Mario says he'll think about retirement in the offseason. They're out in the first round. Check out the final 6-3 for Washington. Miller, Kelly Miller, Juneau, Slaney, Johansson, Pavanka, and Dave Poulin doing the scoring for the Caps. Jagr, Tocchet, and Mario Lemieux with his 4th of the series for the Penguins. Don Beaupre, 26 saves, 4-0 in the series for Beaupre. And the Caps will play the Rangers in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And Jim Schoenfeld, after the game, happy with everybody's effort.
I'm so proud of our guys. I mean, it took a real physical, mental, and emotional commitment to play against the Penguins every shift because you can't relax at all. It's a hard style to play, and these guys in here were willing to pay the price to do it. And it took everyone. That's why we won, because everyone was committed towards the same goal, and we all pulled together.
On everything negative that happened to us, and we came out winners. There's no doubt we deserved to win this series. We worked hard. We played smart.
Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, the Canucks try to get even with the Flames in Vancouver. Doug Gilmour tries to get a leg up on the Blackhawks in Chicago in Game 6. Kevin Brown has a hot hand against Joe Carter and the Jays. The Sonics lower the boom on the Nuggets in their first playoff game. And Vancouver has an NBA team. Now it's time to sell some tickets.
Sports Desk brought to you by Subway, the place where fresh is the taste. And by Olympic. Choose from Olympic's full line of products that protect and beautify exterior wood.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor. Thursday, certainly a very busy day in sports. We're going to try to get it all in for you over the next half hour. And we'll start with the Stanley Cup Playoffs and a very exciting hockey game involving the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames. Following Vancouver's big overtime win in game number 5, it was the Canucks who actually had the momentum as they faced the Flames in Vancouver for game 6. And, of course, they faced Calgary knowing that they were looking at a trip to the golf course or a trip back to the Saddle Dome for game number 7. Once again, in between the pipes for the Flames, Mike Vernon. He started all the games and started this one as well. First period action, he makes a big save off Jyrke Lume and off Jeff Courtnall as he gets a whack at it in front. Keeps it out, though, no score. Canucks take the lead as they win the draw. Gerald Didick with a slapper right there, takes a little dip, and goes past Vernon. So 1-0 Vancouver at home. Last seconds of the first period, Theo Fleury gets the puck. Watch the shot clock ticking down. His shot is deflected in by Gary Roberts. The clock says 0-0, but there's actually 0.3 of a second left. So a 1-1 tie it is. Second period, Vernon comes up big. Nathan Lafayette in close. Look at that glove grab by Mike Vernon. Game still tied. Canucks take the lead. Bad clearing here by the Flames. They can't get it out. Jeff Courtnall out to Joe Charbonneau, and he buries it. The man from rollerblade land. He gets his first of the series, 2-1 Vancouver. Third period action, Flames tied up. Shot in the point by Zalapsky, tipped in by Wes Walls in front. Calgary ties the game at 2. So to overtime we go. Canucks on a power play late in the first overtime frame. Scramble in front of Mike Vernon. Puck comes in from the point. Trevor Linden, the Canucks captain, has a couple of whacks at it and shovels it under Mike Vernon and in. And Vancouver has life. The series is tied at 3 games apiece. The big overtime goal by Trevor Linden makes it 3-2. Didick, Charbonneau, and Trevor Linden doing the scoring for the Canucks. Gary Roberts and Wes Walls with the replies for the Calgary Flames, and that'll send it back to the Saddle Dome for game number 7. Let's go to Vancouver. Here's TSN's David Pratt.
For the second straight game in a row, the Vancouver Canucks have found a way to stay alive in the playoffs by winning in overtime. The hero in Game 6, the captain, Trevor Linden.
It's a pretty big goal for me, I think, that, and for everyone. I mean, we've went at this as a team, and we've looked at it as 9 periods, and we got 3 left.
I'm anxious for this last game. I'm going to savor it tonight. When your back's to the wall and you see your team play in that pressure and perform well, you know that they're making some steps. And I don't know if we'll win there the next game, but we've got an opportunity, and now it's up to us to see if we can take advantage of it.
Momentum goes both ways. It can shift on you really quick. I don't think that's the key. I think the key is whoever's going to come out with the best 60-minute effort next game out. You know, we're determined for it to be us, but I'm sure they're determined for it to be them too. I mean, I'm sure they don't want to go golfing, and neither do we.
It's a 1-game showdown. You come and give it your best, and there's no reason why the Calgary Flames can't go home and win a game in our home rink.
It's a 1-game showdown, and you know, the team that gets the break is probably going to win. And you know, we've been in those situations before, and you know, I think the good thing is that we're going home, and we can really redeem ourselves with a big win, and you know, it's just we got to go out and do it.
So now the stage is set for Game 7 back in Calgary. Ironically, the last time these two teams met in the playoffs, it was also decided at 7 games and also in overtime. David Pratt, TSN, Vancouver.
Wow, that sets up a big game on Saturday, certainly. Well, old-time hockey was what it was all about as the Leafs and the Blackhawks met in Game 6 of their series on Thursday night. This was another hard-edged affair with a lot on the line as the Maple Leafs went in holding a 3-2 edge in games. They needed a win to wrap up the series, or else they'd be packing it up and be back in Toronto on Saturday night. Big question for Leaf fans, would Doug Gilmour play? A leg injury in Game 5? Of course, he was suited up. Just in case, though, Pat Burns also dressed young speedster Darby Hendrickson. But as usual, Felix Potvin comes up big for the Maple Leafs early, stops a shot from the point, and then Joe Murphy with a backhand, gobbled up by Potvin once again. Great goaltending. Leafs get the all-important first goal. Dave Ellett, shot from the point, keeps it low, deflected in front by Mike Gartner, his first of the series. 1-0 Toronto. Big hitting game. Both teams. First, Randy Cunneyworth lines up Peter Zezel and sends him for quite a loop there. Then Leaf captain Wendell Clark will line up Chris Chelios right there and knock him down. Chelios felt that. Chelios gets no pity. Later, he has his head down, and Dave Andreychuk catches him and knocks him down again. Ouch. Chicago continues to press for the equalizer, down 1-0. Big shot here by Eric Weinrich. Potvin somehow gets a glove on that in the crowd and knocks it over the glass. Late third period, still 1-0 Toronto. Darryl Sutter knowing time is running out, but the fans have faith. They don't want to leave Chicago Stadium on a bad note. This could be the last hockey game there ever, but as the clock runs down, the Hawks pressing, the Leafs holding them off. Toronto shuts out Chicago 1-0. Felix Potvin's third shutout of the series. The Leafs advance with a strong showing, 1-0 the final score. 3 games have gone to the 1-0 final score, and the Leafs eliminate Chicago in 6, and that was the final hockey game ever at venerable Chicago Stadium. Mike Gartner with the only goal. Felix Potvin stopping 26 shots. Last goalie to record 3 shutouts in a series, Turk Broda of the Maple Leafs, 1950. The NHL record for playoff shutouts is 4 in total. 6 goalies share it. The last was Ken Dryden, 1977. Let's get more from Chicago. Here's TSN's Rod Smith.
It's not the way Chicago hockey fans wanted to say goodbye to this old barn, but even they would have to admit the final score was somewhat fitting. Low scoring, fine defensive hockey by both teams. Toronto needed a great defensive performance with Doug Gilmour not 100%, and this time they got it at Chicago Stadium.
We didn't want a Game 7 because in a Game 7 there's no home ice advantage. We didn't want to have nothing to do with that. We wanted to end it tonight, and you got to give a lot of credit to a guy like Gilmour that goes out there with a little bit of pain, but really played hard.
If I couldn't have had any movement, the movement that I wanted out there, I wouldn't have played. And the way Chris and the doctors took a look at it, they taped it up proper, and I felt pretty good on it. So if I would have went out and there wasn't the strength on it, I couldn't have played.
We had a better first period. We started the game, we were ready to play. We were taking it to them just as much as they were taking it to us. At the first start of the first period, we didn't fall behind, and we didn't want to be coming from behind all game again like we were the first 2 games in here.
It's not always the best ones that go in the net. I've shot a lot of better shots than that this series, and none of them have gone in. The one that goes in off my pass is the one that wins. But I mean, apart from the goal, I thought we played a great team game tonight. I thought everybody did exactly what they had to do, and it was a huge win for the franchise.
I mean, there were a little bit of luck, and right at the start there on their power play, when I dived and stopped it with my arm, was another good save. But I mean, we did a good job overall.
Well, it sucks to lose no matter how you lose. We played well at times, but I think we obviously weren't going to win a series when we get shut out in 3 games.
It's just been a tough year. We had a lot of things that we didn't need, distractions that we didn't need, and I guess it just finished on a bad note.
Unlike last year, when all 3 of the Leafs' playoff series went the distance, they've given themselves a bit of a rest before moving on to round 2. The Blackhawks, meanwhile, get a much longer rest as they prepare to move on to the United Center across the street for next fall. Rod Smith, TSN in Chicago.
Well, no matter what happened at Joe Louis Arena on Thursday night, 2 things would be evident. Certainly the Red Wings, very talented hockey team when they want to be. Sometimes I guess they just don't want to be. What were they doing down 3-2 to the San Jose Sharks? Thursday night, the Wings, of course, facing elimination at the hands of the Sharks, and the fans at Joe Louis Arena waiting for the real Red Wings to show up. And show up they did on Thursday night. Chris Osgood in net once again, and the Wings offense starts early in this one. 2 minutes in, Sergei Fedorov finally scores. Bounces in off a Sharks defenseman. Not a pretty goal for Fedorov, but he's on the score sheet. His first goal of the series, and Detroit takes off from there. Later in the first power play, Chiasson takes the pass from Coffey and buries a shot from the point, beating Artur Zerbe. Wings up 2-0. Minute and a half later, Detroit leads 3-0, and they add to that. Slava Kozlov also looking for his first goal of the series, and he gets it right here. Cicarelli spins and fires, and it goes right to the stick of Kozlov, who tucks it in from the doorstep. Wings routing the Sharks 4-0. Sharks finally get on the board in the second. 2-man advantage. Ulf Dahlen deflecting a point shot. They gave the goal to Tom Peterson. Sharks down, though, 5-1. Wings reestablished a 5-goal lead. Cicarelli sent in alone. Look at the good move on the breakaway to beat Artur Zerbe. 4th of the series for Cicarelli. 6-1 Detroit. A little bit of a scary moment for Detroit fans a little bit later. Center Sergei Fedorov is helped off the ice after this collision with Bob Airey of the Sharks. Fedorov was okay, though. He would come back later on. Jimmy Waite started the 3rd period for San Jose, giving Artur Zerbe a break. The damage is done already, though. Cicarelli will score again here. Quick shot from the near side over the glove hand, or the sixth.
Real TV, TSN.
Coming up on TSN Sports Desk, the Bruins look to handle the Habs in Game 7 at Boston Garden. With the Sabres rattling, the Devils get their due in New Jersey. Controversy continues to follow Kings owner Bruce McNall, and we'll preview Game 7 of the Flames and the Canucks. And even Dudley Moore would agree Kirk Reeder is a perfect 10 these days. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of TSN Sports Desk. I'm Brendan Connor. Glad you're along. Big night in Sports Friday. and certainly a big night for hockey fans of 4 NHL teams. The Sabres and the Devils, they went to game number 7. So did Bruins and Montreal. Let's start, in fact, in Boston, where the Habs had to hope that Patrick Roy could work his magic once again. You know, when you look at Boston and Montreal in Game 7, it's been a very interesting record over the years. Boston 8-6 in deciding 7th games in playoff series. But against Montreal in 7th and deciding games, the Bruins just 1-3. Montreal, by Jacques Demers' admission, didn't look very sharp in game number 6, and they faced first-round elimination here for the first time since the early 1980s. Let's go to Boston Garden and take a look at what happened. The Bruins go after Patrick Roy early. Good passing here, and it's Glenn Murray who bullets one right past Patrick Roy from the slot there. Second of the playoffs for Murray. 1-0 for the Bruins. Later in the first, Ted Donato picks up the puck, steps over the red line and blasts it. Patrick Roy doesn't get it all. It trickles in, and Kevin Haller can't get there in time. Bruins have a 2-0 lead after 1. Dr. Demers hoping his team can get back into it in the second period, but the Bruins just keep on coming. 1.5 minutes into the second period. Power play. Ted Donato slits a pass through to Adam Oates. He waits and fires through the 5-hole. Just like that, the Habs are down 3-0. John Leclerc trying to get the Montreal Canadiens back into it. Big hit here on Knipscher. But that doesn't rattle Boston, doesn't rattle Knipscher certainly. Stewart to Knipscher here, and he bats a rolling puck past Patrick Roy, who slid across too far. Boston with a commanding 4-0 lead. And the Bruins fans eating this up, of course, especially when Montreal are the victims. Cam Stewart playing well for the Bees. Here he nails Peter Popovich almost over the boards and into his own bench. Third period, Fred Knipscher leaves it for Ray Bourque, and he can still let them go, boy. And you watch it come into your living room. Zing, right past Patrick Roy. Boston with a 5-1 lead in game number 7. Looks as if Harry Sinden and the Bruins are headed to the next round. Cheer up there, Harry. The Habs got a couple of late goals, but Patrick Roy's face says it all. A valiant effort by this man through the playoffs, but he couldn't carry that team anymore. It's the Bruins who come up big in Game 7, and they are deserving winners as they beat Montreal 5-3, and they win the series. Glenn Murray, Ted Donato, Adam Oates, Fred Knipscher, and Ray Bourque, the snipers for Boston. Danfus with his first goal of the series. That was one of the problems right there. Kevin Haller and Mike Keane with the other goals. Montreal, the first defending Stanley Cup champ to be eliminated in the first round since Calgary in 1990. The Bruins have won 5 of their last 6 series against the Montreal Canadiens. Let's go to Boston now for a post-game report. Here's Michael Whalen.
Well, the Bruins probably think that justice was finally served as they outplayed and outshot the Montreal Canadiens throughout this series, and yet it took them 7 full games to win it. Tonight, a decisive 5-3 victory right here in the Garden.
Both teams probably would have admitted that it was going to be a long series. It was a battle, there's no question about it, right down to the last whistle. I mean, give them a lot of credit. They at 5-1, they could have easily packed it in. That's a lot of class. That's a very classy organization.
Everybody knew, I'm sure, on both teams that it was going to be a long series, and it was going to be a battle all the way. And come to 7 games, I mean, it doesn't get any better than the 7th game in the playoffs. So, I mean, it was a good game. We got out to an early lead, and I mean, they played a great game. They battled really hard to get back into it, but we built too big a lead, I think, for them to come back.
Super feeling, super game. The guys played great. You know, it took 7 games and against the Stanley Cup champions.
I sensed it was our night before we even got on the ice. I felt like, you know, there was a lot of build-up, and I think that Game 6 was, you know, obviously crucial for us. And I kind of got that feeling in the locker room that we were going to come out and, you know, play an excellent game.
They came out very aggressive, and it seemed like we were just trying to play a regular style game where take the opportunities are there. We weren't forcing opportunities, and you know, maybe looking back, maybe we should have played aggressive from the start. Maybe they were taking some chances, and really that's not in our style of play, and they capitalized on them. We changed the game around, like I said, once it was 2-0, but by that time it was play catch up, and you got to give up the big opportunities, and that's unfortunate what we did.
They won that Game 6 in Montreal. We gave them the momentum. It was to us to take it back, and you know, I thought the guys were ready, and we were ready, and they get the first one, and it was the first one was really important, I think, in that game, and they work harder and harder, and it was tougher, but we never let down, and we tried to came back, but we came back short from 2.
So the Stanley Cup champs are out, and Boston moves on. In the other series that would end Friday night, really tough to say goodbye to one of these teams. One of the stellar goaltenders would have his season end on Friday night, and that's too bad. Dominic Hasek and Martin Brodeur, the youngster, last game made 70 and 50 saves respectively. It's been terribly entertaining, this hockey, and Game 7 was no different at the Brendan Byrne Arena. There is young Brodeur, maybe feeling the pressure of Game 7 at home, and there is Hasek Nothing gets him down. He's tested early, makes a good save off Scott Niedermayer right here off a blast from the point. The Sabres actually strike first and give Hasek a lead. Dale Howardchuk back to the point to Philippe Boucher, and he walks in and rips it past Brodeur, who is screened by Himmeleb. 1-0 Sabres. Brodeur makes the save of the series, though, a bit later. They bobble the puck back there, and Dave Hannon will jump on it right here, but Brodeur reaches out with a glove, and Hannon puts it right into his trapper. Wow. Some huge hitting in this game. Look at Jason Dodd drill Randy McKay, and he takes it on the nose in the glass, and afterwards looks worse for the wear. Devils tie it up before the end of the first. Bruce Driver was shot from the point. Hasek will get a piece of it, but evidently he was bothered by Randy Moeller in the crease, or near the crease. Game tied at 1. And still not a capacity house up there in the upper reaches of Brendan Burns. Some empty seats. Don't know why. Great hockey game. Great series. More big hitting. That's Bill Guerin hammering Bodger. And here's Brad May giving it to Fetisov behind the net. Second period, still tied at 1. John McLean will just miss a tip in here. Goes over the net. Bernie Nichols gobbles it up, takes a quick look out, spots Claude Lemieux, and he lets it go quickly. A bang-bang play, a goal. 2-1 Devils. Now Hasek keeps the Sabres in this game. Terrific save here off Corey Millen in close. He's got the right pad out and makes the save. Later, Stefan Richer in alone. Good sniper. Hasek's got that one too. 44 saves in this game. What a great goaltender he is. The offense has one last chance to tie it up. Howardchuk can't get it through to find the net. It hit somebody in front. That would have tied the game. It did not, and the fans in New Jersey, even little Jason there, going home happy, and the teams congratulate each other on a great series of hockey. Wonderful goaltending and close-checking hockey. Boy, this is what it's all about. Bruce Driver and Claude Lemieux scored the goals for New Jersey. Philippe Boucher for Buffalo. Martin Brodeur just 17 saves, but Hasek, as we mentioned, 44 saves. Devils win their first playoff series since 1988 when they made it to the conference final, and Coach Jacques Lemaire happy and impressed by the goaltending.
The time we're leading 1-0, we had maybe 5 chances to get the lead by 2 goals, and we never did. But Hasek made great saves, and then they came back, and to keep the lead 1-0, Brodeur had to make 2 great saves.
Well, I think we were fortunate in that we used our bench pretty well. We used 3 and 3.5 and sometimes 4 lines throughout the series, and I think we tried to go short shifts, and I think we did that effectively. So right now I think all the guys feel pretty good.
We have to be ready and play the same kind of game. The good thing we played in Buffalo, it's a small rink, so we know what to expect in a small rink.
Okay, so the Boston Bruins will go on to play the New Jersey Devils, and that will begin on Sunday afternoon, May the 1st.
Brought to you by Super Nintendo. Next week, jumping for joy on Good Sports, Rocco's Radical, and on Goals, Spring Break. Later, dude.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vic Roeder at TSN Control with an update for you on what has turned out to be a very tragic weekend at the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, Italy. It all began yesterday in the second day of qualifying when the 31-year-old rookie Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger slid off the S corner, slammed hard into the wall, and then slid a few hundred feet before finally coming to rest. Attempting to qualify for just his 3rd Formula One race, he was airlifted to hospital and died a short time later. And then today, in the race, in almost a carbon copy, the 3-time world driving champion Ayrton Senna slid off the course and once again hit the wall very hard. Senna, who started on the pole, didn't take the second day of qualifying yesterday after Ratzenberger's death, and so it's with tremendous irony that he would crash today. They performed a mini tracheotomy to relieve bleeding in his throat. He was airlifted to hospital, where now he is reported in a deep coma and suffering a severe concussion. So the 34-year-old, 3-time driving champion Ayrton Senna is in hospital in Imola, Italy, and fighting for his life. There was one other tragic accident today. It involved 2 cars, J.J. Leto and Pedro Lamy. That was right at the top of the race. The drivers weren't injured in that. However, a tire flew into the crowd and 5 people were injured there. As for the winner, Michael Schumacher went on to win the race, shortened from 61 laps to 53. Second, Nicola Larini, and third, Mika Hakkinen. Sports Desk will keep you up to date the entire afternoon.
Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, Pavel Bure escapes his shadow just long enough to put out the flames. The Sharks look for dessert as they finish off the Wings. Joe Carter ends April on a record-setting note. Pedro Martinez notches his first win of the year as the Expos topple the Padres. And playoff action from the NBA.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Gino Retta. Great to have you along. You know, for the hockey fan, very little can compare to the excitement of a Game 7. You can use a whole lot of cliches, but the bottom line is this. The loser will not get a second chance. Saturday night's Game 7 at the Saddle Dome in Calgary will be remembered for a lot of things. People will talk about the intensity of the game. An incredibly physical affair it was. Some will recall Pavel Bure breaking out for a couple of key goals. But most of all, people will remember the spectacular performance turned in by Vancouver goaltender Kirk McLean. First up, though, a look at Gary Roberts, who got involved physically and on the scoreboard as well. First of all, Jyrki Lumme takes a pass from Pavel Bure there for the rebound. Bure, outstanding effort. Bure made the pass, then came in as a trailer, popped it in. The game tied at 1. Rough, tight checking affair. German Titov and Jyrki Lumme rough it up a little bit. A couple of swings there. Then Al McInnes, big swing here on John McIntyre. They say physical. Theo Fleury then flies down the right wing, lets the shot go, beats Kirk McLean. That broke a 2-2 tie, made it 3-2 Calgary. The rough stuff continues. Gerald Didick runs Zarley Zalapski into the end boards. He hits his head against the glass, and then Zalapski hits his head on the ice as well. And you can tell when they helped Zalapski off the ice, he was really feeling groggy. The Canucks tied up in the third. They put the pressure on. Greg Adams somehow beats Mike Vernon. This game's all tied up at 3. Kirk McLean, unbelievable in this game, made 46 saves, many of them of the spectacular variety. Here, a terrific glove hand save off Al McInnes. Outstanding stop. In OT, he makes a save of the series. Theo Fleury to Robert Reichel. The Flames could advance right here, but McLean turns them away. Great stop. Mike Vernon then turns away Hennigan and Cliff Ronning as well. Great goaltending, both ends of the ice. The hitting continues. Trent Yanni just hammers Martin Gelinas behind the net. Kirk McLean, save of the day for the Canucks again. German Titov breaks in and turned away by McLean again. Second overtime period now. Jeff Brown, long lead pass for Pavel Bure. Bure on the breakaway, and Bure beats Mike Vernon with an outstanding goal, the game-winning goal, and these two Flame fans go home very disappointed as it's over for the Calgary Flames in the 1993-94 Stanley Cup Playoffs as Pavel Bure is the hero with a couple of big stops. But Kirk McLean really shut the door on the Calgary Flames Stanley Cup playoff hopes this season. With more from the Saddle Dome, here's our Lisa Bowes.
Just an incredible finish to what has been an emotional roller coaster ride for both clubs. Vancouver refusing to get off. Their franchise player being held in check through most of this series finally broke through. Pavel Bure with the game winner and a 4-3 series win.
We was down 3-1 and it was hard to believe we couldn't come back, but you know, we won for free. I still can't believe it. It's happened.
We kept on saying that we weren't looking for any one guy to be a hero. We were just looking for a hero, and he got his chance. That's all it took, was one chance for him. He hasn't had a lot in this series. Sullivan really played well against him, and Zalapski, and he beat Verney. Verney played well, and Pav came up big, and that's what you like, the big guys that come up big for you.
It's amazing. At start, the fans were getting on Pavel for the first 4 games, and he ends up getting 2 and getting the winner and putting our team in a position that we haven't been in for a long time.
I know it's frustrating for a lot of people in the city, and it's no more frustrating for them than it is for this guy and the guys in this dressing room, but I'm proud of these guys.
We're very happy with the effort we gave, and we had 3 consecutive overtime games, and boy, that's tiring and tough, and you got to give the Canucks a lot of credit. They have got a good team, and they played well, and it was a real tough series for us.
We took it on the chin a lot of years from Calgary, and back my first year we lost in 7 in overtime, and since then they beat us pretty good a lot of nights, so this is a great feeling. It's great for Vancouver, and I'm happy for them and for us.
We're probably going to get a label here, but I'll challenge any guy one-on-one in the parking lot anytime if he wants to you know, talk about things, and hey, I know that I'll come out on top.
Is this an enjoyable cigar that you're smoking?
Absolutely. I like cigars. They're enjoyable. This one's real good.
And so the Vancouver Canucks are moving on to the second round. This is only the third time they have won a playoff series since 1982. But certainly after a season of inconsistency that was overshadowed by the Peter Nedved situation, Vancouver hockey fans feel the timing couldn't have been better. Lisa Bose, TSN, Calgary.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, now to game number 7 in Detroit. A game that probably wouldn't have been necessary if the Wings had acquired a frontline goaltender in time for these playoffs. But they didn't. And Saturday, the upstart Sharks brought the Red Wings Stanley Cup drive to a screeching halt. Yes, for the second year in a row, the hyper-talented Red Wings are out in the first round. They had placed their playoff hopes on the shoulders of the rookie, Chris Osgood, but it was just too much to ask of the young man. Senna with the pass to Johan Garpenlov early on, beats the young goaltender. It's 1-0 for the Sharks. That doesn't deter the Wings, though. Sean Bird just nails Jeff Norton behind the net. And that has the fans littering the ice with the traditional octopus on the ice. The Sharks undeterred. Sergei Makarov gets the puck. He takes it all the way to Detroit zone. He beats Chris Osgood with a backhand between the legs, and it's 2-0 for the Sharks. Meanwhile, other end of the ice, Artur Zerbe playing very well. Slava Kozlov breaks in. Urbe turns him away with a nice leg save. The Wings showing their frustration in this one. Sergei Fedorov with the vicious cross-check on Jason Moore behind the play. Time right out in the first period. Sandis Ozunic cannot handle the pass from Urbe. The puck gets out to Chris Draper. His backhand goes in. A short-handed marker. It's 2-1 after 1. That seems to spur the Wings. Urbe can't handle the shot. Slava Kozlov is there to put in the rebound. This game is all tied up at 2 now. But the Sharks get a big chance late in the game. Ulf Dahlen gets Osgood down, but Osgood comes out with a big save. Later, Osgood gaff. Back to Jamie Baker, wide open net, catches Osgood out of the net, 3-2 for the Sharks. Detroit presses the tie, but Urbe makes the big save on Fedorov. And yes, for the second season in a row, Red Wing fans are disappointed with their team.
What an upset! The San Jose Sharks have knocked out the Red Wings. Unbelievable!
Meanwhile, upstairs, this will very likely mark the end of Brian Murray's time as the general manager of the Detroit Red Wings as they are ousted again from the first round of the playoffs. Matter of fact, the Red Wings have been eliminated in the first round of the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Incidentally, the Sharks are the first team since 1975 New York Islanders to advance to the second round in their playoff debut. And the Sharks give much of the thanks to Artur Zerbe.
It was what we were dreaming whole team about during whole season. Now we make unbelievable step, but we know there are games coming up, and I just wanted to say that our team made it happen. Not me, not Sergei, Igor, or Sandis. That's whole teamwork. It's a chemistry of team.
They dream about winning a 7th game, and we're on the road, and we know we have a lot of people cheering for us in the Bay Area. And we're coming home to play some more hockey games, so it's great.
That's the difference. I mean, that was the luck involved. Puck fell the last second. I got good wood on it. So on it. And I mean, he didn't even have to tip it. It obviously went in, but it's a lucky play. And when you get down, you know, that was our team's goal. You know, we want to keep it close, go into the third period, and rely on. You know, we've relied on Artie Urbe all year. Might as well rely on him, and maybe we can get the breaks. We did.
Does it make you want to come back next year, or make you want to reassess your situation?
I don't know. I don't really know what to say right now. I'm just disappointed in our team again, and in myself and in our team once again.
I don't know what happened. I turned around with the net. The puck was ahead of me. I couldn't get to it. It just happened so fast.
I don't know. Every one of us, 25 guys, we had to stand up and be counted for. And, you know, we did it, one game, and tonight we didn't get the job done. You know, you'd like to sit and say, oh, we're a young team, oh, it's a learning experience, but it's not.
The Western Conference semifinals without the Detroit Red Wings get underway on Monday. The Vancouver Canucks will be at Dallas for game number 1. The Stars won the season series.
Real drama coming up on Real TV, TSN.
Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, three-time Formula One champ Ayrton Senna is killed at the San Marino Grand Prix. The Rangers are too strong for the Caps as they open up the Eastern semi-finals. While the Bruins turn away the Devils in Game 1 of their series, Todd Stottlemyre is lit down by the Blue Jays bullpen and all the action from the NBA playoffs.
Sports Desk, brought to you by the new Gillette Sensor XL and the Gillette Series. Gillette, the best a man can get. And by Castrol, the manufacturers of Castrol GTX, the oil engineered for today's harder-working engines.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Sports Desk. I'm Gino Retta. For the second consecutive day, tragedy struck on the Formula One circuit. What already began as a somber Sunday became a day of mourning for racing fans around the world as Ayrton Senna, one of Brazil's greatest national heroes, was tragically killed. Despite incredible advances in safety precautions over the past decade, the fact remains that each time an auto racer climbs into a high-speed machine, he is putting his life on the line. Michael Schumacher did it when he won Sunday's shortened San Marino Grand Prix. So did three-time world champion Ayrton Senna. But while Schumacher survived the race, the preeminent racer in Formula One did not. Ayrton Senna was involved in a horrific crash early in Sunday's race. Senna was leading but missed a turn traveling at over 250 kilometers per hour. He seemed to have problems steering and didn't even have enough time to brake before slamming into a concrete wall. Track medical officials took an abnormally long period of time to get to Senna. In the meantime, the three-time world champion sat unconscious and bleeding in his cockpit. The 34-year-old Brazilian crushed his forehead on impact and suffered from multiple skull fractures. Senna was immediately airlifted to a nearby hospital in Bologna. He slipped into a coma and was declared clinically brain dead at approximately 11:40 Eastern Time. Senna was kept alive on a respirator until his heart stopped approximately an hour later.
It was not only Senna, the entire paddock was a somber place yesterday because of Roland Ratzenberger's accident. I saw Senna this morning. I did not talk to him. He seemed very calm, and he did seem subdued. And I think once in the racing car, however, he was such a professional, he could concentrate and put all that out of his mind.
Well, he was a very good person. He was a very misunderstood person, especially by the press, but I can assure you he was a good person at heart. We had a lot of conversations about things that were going on with me, and I must say he was one of my best supporters over there, and he was a great teammate. You know, I couldn't ask for anything more. He was very helpful, did whatever he could to help me, and you know, it's just a shame because he not only was a great driver, but he was a good person too.
In addition to his 41 victories, here is a man who became a minor economic engine in the entire nation of Brazil, making $15 to $20 million on salary alone, the idol of millions of people around the world.
Racing around the world will be rocked right down to its foundations because of the death of Ayrton Senna. I believe people in Brazil are probably crying in the streets because he is such a big national hero there. And his funeral in Brazil will be one of the biggest happenings that they've ever had there.
Ayrton Senna's death wasn't the only tragedy at this weekend's race at San Marino. Austrian Roland Ratzenberger, a 31-year-old rookie, was killed in a crash during Saturday's qualifying. 7 spectators and a police officer were hurt when a tire flew into the grandstand during Sunday's race. And 3 Ferrari mechanics and a Lotus team member were injured when Michele Alboretto's car clipped the pit crew while coming out of pit lane. You know, during his career, Ayrton Senna was renowned for not only his natural driving skill, but his dedication to auto racing and his intense competitive spirit. A driver whose legendary status was established long before his death, because for many fans, Ayrton Senna wasn't just the circuit's best racer. He was racing at its best.
He was the epitome of auto racing and everything it means to those who sit behind the wheel and those who sit in the stands. The quintessential racer, driven to success with a passion for the sport appreciated only by those closest to him on and off the track. For Ayrton Senna, a checkered flag was not just a symbol of racing victory, it was a celebration of life and a declaration of his love of racing. A love affair which began as a child in his native Brazil with go-kart racing and led this prodigy to Formula 3 racing in 1983 when he swept to 10 consecutive wins to win the British Championship. He signed with the Tolman organization in 1984, but his first Grand Prix win would come in 1985 as he captured the flag in the rain at Portugal for the Lotus team. After 6 victories for Lotus, Senna was hungry for a World Drivers' Championship and knew the powerful McLaren team was the only squad strong enough to give him the chance. And in 1988, Senna and McLaren driving partner Alain Prost rewrote Formula One history. Despite an often bitter feud between the two McLaren drivers, they dominated the opposition for 15 wins on the 16-race schedule. And with 8 victories to Prost's 7, Senna realized a boyhood dream with his first World Championship. 2 more world titles would follow in 1990 and 91, making Senna the youngest driver in Grand Prix history to win 3 championships. By the end of his tenure with McLaren, Senna had won 41 races, second behind Prost on the all-time win list, and would finish his career with a record 65 pole positions. But with McLaren fortune slipping, Senna moved to the Frank Williams team this season, a combination which made Senna a heavy favorite to win his 4th global title. It was Senna's will to win and his passion to race which drove him to push the limits, not just of his car or other drivers, but the limits of his courage as well. He once proclaimed, "To survive in Grand Prix racing, you need to be afraid. It helps you stay together. It helps you race longer and live longer."
As one goes forth to unearth new treasures, one mustn't let primordial perspiration mess with one's style. Consider this discovery. New right guard, pure power, clear gel, antiperspirant. An astoundingly clear gel. Thus, it goes on clear without any flaky white stuff. After all, when it comes to protection, one shouldn't mess around. New right guard, clear gel. Anything less would be uncivilized.
As your engine revs higher, the oil inside creates a hydrodynamic wedge, a protective layer that builds up and keeps engine parts separated. But as your oil's viscosity breaks down, so can the wedge. That's why Castrol GTX provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. Because if your viscosity breaks down, what's next? Castrol GTX, engineered for today's harder working engines. Look for Castrol's free NHL hat offer at these and other leading outlets.
For 54 years, Ranger fans have heard the same thing from team management. This is it. We'll go all the way this year. But the Rangers haven't laid their hands on Lord Stanley's Holy Grail since 1940. However, considering their talent and all the first-round upsets, this may very well be their year. New York opening the 2nd round of the playoffs at home at Madison Square Garden against the Washington Capitals. Mike Keenan's Rangers with 7 days off since sweeping the Islanders, and no ill effects of it as Mark Messier just taking seconds into the game. Big shot there on Don Beaupre, who makes a big stop. Then Alexei Kovalev centers the puck to Stéphane Matteau, who bats it out of the air, beating Beaupre, and the Rangers out on top by a score of 1-0. Just moments later, Michael Pavanka in on Mike Richter. Great effort by Pavanka, spinning Richter around and tying the game at 1. Jim Schoenfeld feeling good about the early goings in this game, but the Rangers have things going a little later on. Craig McTavish shows it out in front. Brian Noonan gets 1 poke at it, gets a second, finally beating Beaupre. New York back in front 2-1 after 1. Caps try to tie in the second. Sweet move here by Dmitry Kristich. His centering pass is deflected and off of Joey Juneau right between the pads of Mike Richter. Gotta be good to be lucky. Caps do tie midway through the second. Kelly Miller side of the net, moves in front, beats Richter, and it's all even up at 2. Then it's 3-2 Rangers when the former Blackhawks kick into gear. It's Noonan this time, walks out of the corner, beats Beaupre, his second of the game. Rangers up 4-2. Another pair of former Hawks put it together as Steve Larmer centers it to Greg Gilbert. He beats Beaupre 5-2 at that point. Former Blackhawks combined for 4 goals and 1 assist, leading the Rangers to a 1-0 lead in this series. 6-3 the final score. Miller, Pavanka, Ridley the goals. For the Caps, for the Rangers, it was Noonan with a pair, Leach, Matteau, Gilbert, and Messier. The Rangers scored 6 or more goals in just 7 of their 84 regular season games this year. Well, they've already scored 6 or more goals in 3 of their 5 playoff games thus far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Elsewhere, Meadowlands in New Jersey, Boston Bruins visiting. Unfortunately for the Devils, not many fans on hand. 5,200 under capacity. The Bruins get the first goal as Steve Heinz makes a nice pass to Brian Smolinski into clear, beating Martin Brodeur, and it's 1-0 for the Bruins. Casey Strong in the Bruins net. Stéphane Richer from the face-off circle, big blast, and Casey throws out the glove hand to make the stop. The Bruins get another couple minutes later. Brad Shaw gets the puck back at the point, fakes a shot, moves in, beats Brodeur, and it's 2-0 for the Bruins. But the Devils strike back on the power play. Bernie Nichols sideboards. He tees it up, blast by Casey. The Devils trailing by 1. It's a big hit into this game. Glenn Wesley lines up Scott Stevens, but it's Wesley who gets the worst of this big hit. He is shaken up. Both goaltenders continue to shine. Martin Brodeur stops. Joseph Stumple on the backhand. Down at the other end of the ice, Casey makes a terrific save off Bill Guerin. How he keeps us out, I'm not really sure. Casey also gets a little lucky. Randy McKay cuts in, puts one off the iron. Many Devils fans miss an entertaining game. A little sarcasm there on the banners as the Boston Bruins defeat the New Jersey Devils 2-1 in Game 1 of the rest of 7 set. John Casey, 34 saves in this one. Smolinski and David Shaw, the goals for Boston. For New Jersey was Bernie Nichols, his first of these playoffs. And it seems a couple of the Penguins didn't take too kindly to their first-round departure from the NHL playoffs. According to KDKA-TV in Pittsburgh, police have issued warrants for the arrest of 2 Penguin players and a third person in connection with a brawl in a downtown Pittsburgh bar on Friday night. The players have yet to be identified. Well, Sunday was relatively quiet at the World Hockey Championships in Italy. Team Canada with the day off. Only one game on the sked. That was Italy defeating Austria by a score of 3-1. And with the win, the host Italians moved into 3rd spot in the A pool, right behind Canada and Russia, who are presently tied with perfect records of 4-0. Pool B looks like this.
More real life, real drama coming up on Real TV. TSA. Ahead on TSN Sports Desk, the Russian rocket helps the Canucks shoot down the Stars, while the Sharks head east to feast on the Leafs. The Expos pull closer to the first-place Braves. It's no hocus-pocus as Reggie Miller leads Indiana over the Magic. And it's time for TSN's Plays of the Week.
Sports Desk brought to you by STP Engine Treatment for long-lasting protection against engine wear, startup after startup, and better gas mileage too.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Landsberg, and welcome to TSN Sports Desk. We have lots to keep us busy over the next half hour with scores and highlights from Monday, and what better place to start than the Stanley Cup Playoffs and that hockey hotbed of Dallas, Texas. And could 2 teams ever come to a series from more different directions than the Stars and the Canucks? Stars breezed past the Blues in 4, while the Canucks went 7 grueling games against the Calgary Flames. The conventional thinking was let down for the Canucks in game number 1 against the rested sky-high Dallas Stars. Well, that conventional thinking was worthless because Bob Gainey's Stars were actually just a little bit flat-footed early on, and Pat Quinn's Canucks were flying early on in this one. Just 1:58 in. Murray Craven moves in on Darcy Wakalek and beats him, and the Canucks are off to the fast start that they wanted, and they got more a little bit later on. They get a gift from Dallas's best player, Mike Modano, coughs it up, a terrible feed, and Jeff Courtnall with about a 15-foot slapper, no chance at all for Wakalek, 2-0. Meanwhile, Shane Churla is the captain for the Dallas Stars, and he gets his team revved up with a huge hit on Brett Hedekin. And it works. Paul Broughton left all alone in front of the net, gets 2 whacks at it. Broughton's first point of the playoffs cuts the lead at 2-1 after 1. Second period, the Canucks once again come out flying. Watch the play here by Pavel Bure. Fakes one slap shot, moves in, fakes it again, then a bullet shot to the top corner. What a shot by the Russian Rocket, 3-1 Vancouver. Looks like the Stars could use a little bit of help from this guy. He's got the great arm, but how about the arm of Kirk McLean? Watch this save, unbelievable. That is a gorgeous save off Dave Gagne. But the Stars persist on the power play. Richard Matvichuk sneaks in for the point and buries the pass from Pelle Eklund. The lead is down to 4-2, and 34 seconds later, Dallas continues to press. Darian Hatcher with a shot. It hits the post, but Mike McVie bangs in the rebound, and Pat Quinn and the Canucks have seen their 3-goal lead cut to 1. 4-3 Vancouver after 2. Early third period, though, Shane Churla comes out from behind the net. Let's go the shot. McPhee gets credit for the goal. Somehow it finds its way in. It's all tied at 4. And I thought the Canucks were dead. They continue to press, and they bounce right back. Martin Gelinas with a quick shot off the faceoff. He beats Wakaluk that minute 5-4. They added one more. The Canucks with a huge opening game road victory in Dallas, 6-4. I'll tell you, the most impressive thing was they led it 4-1. The game was tied at 4, but they were able to still come back and win the game. Craven, Courtnall with his 5th already. Boré red hot right now with his 4th. Lume's played well. He had his 1st. Gelinas with his 3rd. Linden with his 5th. For Dallas, McPhee with a pair. Broughton and Matt Tkachuk. Let's get more on this game from our Gord Miller in Dallas.
Well, for the first time in about a week and a half, it wasn't overtime for the Vancouver Canucks, but it was the next best thing, a nail-biting third period after the Canucks had built up a 2-0 lead in the first 5 minutes and 15 seconds. And look out, the Vancouver Canucks with 4 playoff wins in a row are one of the hottest teams in hockey.
They weren't real sharp at the start, but they sure picked it up after the game went on. In fact, they probably outchanced us by a bigger margin than we've ever had in this whole series we've been in the playoffs. But fortunately, Kirk was good, and our guys, he bought us an opportunity to win.
You know, a strange goal in the third there where I had it smothered in between my feet, and the guy kind of skated me into the net. But we never let it bother us, and we plugged away right to the last dying seconds.
You don't like to do it the easy way, though, do you?
No, I think we were fortunate tonight. Kirk McLean held us in there, made some big saves, and we got a nice one at the end there with Nathan winning the face-off back to Marty, and to see that one go in is a big goal for us.
We know Dallas. This is kind of the theme. If they score one goal, they might get a second one and a third one right away. So we got scoring this goal right away after. So we knew we had to be prepared, and we came back hard and we scored a goal, and we took it from there.
Yeah, I felt a little heavy, a little tired, kind of a bit out of game shape. It's nice. It was a nice break, but it might. It works both ways. We'll just have to see how this series goes and see if. Playing every other day for Vancouver maybe affect them later down the road.
We're a team that doesn't give in easily, and I think the game tonight, the 4-1 lead that they had, represented the way the play went on the ice. We made some big mistakes that cost you goals when you throw pucks away and give out opportunities on the rush, outnumbered opportunities, and we have to use a lot of energy to try to gain those back.
While the Stars do their best to downplay their loss in Game 1, the Vancouver Canucks aren't doing anything to hide their elation. With the 2-3-2 format in place for this series, no matter what happens in Game 2, the Canucks will have a chance to win this series at home. And as the San Jose Sharks proved in Round 1, the 2-3-2 can be a huge advantage when you gain at least a split on the road. Gord Miller, TSN, Dallas.
Speaking of those Sharks, is it possible for a team to be brilliantly dull? If so, then that's the San Jose Sharks. Like any good team, they have a system, but unlike most good teams, their system is simply to wait. Wait for the other guy to make a mistake, then make him pay. Against the Detroit Red Wings, that system worked, and on Monday night, they hope to make it work again as the Sharks and Maple Leafs open their series in Toronto. 2-3-2 format here. Ken Baumgartner back from his injured wrist, and I'll tell you what, he was hammering everything in sight early on. He took out Moore and Baker at one time, then Sean Cronin banged as well by Baumgartner. The Leafs get on the board first. Mike Gartner with some strong work behind the net. Gilmore gets a whack at it. Wendell Clark gets a couple of whacks. He gets the goal uncontested. 1-0 for the Leafs. But the Sharks tie it a little bit later on. Garpenlov gets it after Peter Zezel gives it away. Garpenlov to Larionov, and he takes the shot that finds its way past Felix Potvin. Game is tied at 1. Baumgartner continues to be about the only Maple Leaf who really seem to want to play in this game. Nice hit on Tom Peterson, but he left the game after one period with a sore shoulder. That's Ken Baumgartner going down. He did not return after the hit from Ellick. One of the few criticisms of Arturs Urbe is his inability to handle the puck. Here he gives it right to Mark Osborne, who says, thanks very much. Maple Leafs out in front by a score of 2-1, but the Sharks tie it before the end of the period. It's 2-on-1. Bob Rouse hustles to get back in the play here. Kind of bad luck for the Maple Leafs here. Falloon loses control, then gets it back, and his backhand trickles underneath Felix Potvin. Not the prettiest of goals, but the game was tied at 2. A tough physical game with lots of clutching and grabbing, that San Jose style. Duchesne with a mugging on Andrechuk. Sharks then throwing it around beautifully. Late dying seconds of this game in regulation. Larionov to Garpenlov, and look at the smile. That tells it all. That's the game-winning goal. San Jose hockey to perfection. The Maple Leafs, lazy and sloppy and not very sharp at all. San Jose waited for the chance. The chance came, and they made the Maple Leafs pay. 3-2, San Jose grabs the early lead in this series. Larionov had a goal and an assist. He leads all playoff scorers with 12 points, at least before that game in Dallas. Falloon with his first, Garpenlov with his third, Clark with his second, and Osborne with his first for Toronto. Let's get more on this game from Rod Smith at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
The style of play that worked so well for San Jose during the regular season and in the first round of the playoffs worked again to a T in Game 1 against the Leafs. Toronto knew what to expect, a cautious defensive brand of play, waiting for the opposition to make mistakes and then pouncing on them. But the Leafs couldn't stop it from happening anyway.
We could add more forecheck. I think our skill guys wanted to be more skilled than they wanted to forecheck, and that's what we can't do. We got to get in there and we got to forecheck them, and we didn't do that.
They got to win another 3 games against us, and it's going to be a long series. There's no doubt. We got to come back and, you know, just put this game behind us, take the positive things from it, and come back, work hard tomorrow in practice, and you know, come back with a good attitude. That's the main thing.
Very frustrating to lose like that at the end of the game, and you know, a real disappointing loss, and we got to regroup and come out and play a little harder next game.
It gets frustrating if you play that type of game that they want to play, and I think that we did that tonight. It's something that we didn't want to do. We wanted to play more our style of game and put a lot more pressure on them than we did, and we had that at times, but not throughout the game.
It's great, you know. I think we have to learn from the Detroit series. I think we came out in the second game there and didn't play as well, so I think we just have to learn from tonight and not get too high over the win, and you know, come out the same way on Wednesday.
We got a lot of guys here that are talented in their own ways, and it might not be the nifty moves, but you know, we got Artie back in there. It could be the MVP of the league. And we got it, like I said, those Russians. We got a lot of guys that work hard and come to play, and that's why they're here, and that's why we're in the situation we are right now.
We've played in a lot of pretty tight games this year, and you know, we'd rather hang in there in games than have games get behind. We don't like to get behind right away, and so we'd have rather not got behind, but fortunately we're able to hang in there and survive.
So the Sharks have earned themselves at least a split of their 2 games here in Toronto before heading home for 3 games in California, and that's why Game 2 is so vital for the Leafs now. Another loss, and Toronto could be in a lot of trouble. Rod Smith, TSN, in Toronto.
Now, forget the end of the Cold War. Forget the fact that it meant
Real life, real drama, coming up on Real TV.